5 years ago, esports prodigy Shen Tuo and dancer Wen Ying loved and parted. Now, a snowstorm brings them face to face. He's a world champion. She teaches his friend's niece. In a dance studio on Christmas Eve, he offers chocolate and asks, "Do you still hate me?" From campus mint candies to bitter breakup, fate gives them one last chance. But can first loves truly survive time? Chapter 1. Mid-December 2024 saw the first snowfall in Beijing. Shen Tuo's esports team, under his studio's banner, took the world championship amidst this heavy snow, prompting him to linger in the city for an extra week. His departure coincided with Christmas, and the festive atmosphere permeating the city gave him pause, but he quickly finished packing his luggage. While checking out, he received a call from his friend, Chen Tuo. It was this call that led him to Wen Ying, whom he hadn't seen in over 5 years. The matter was simple. Chen Tuo, who had been working in Haicheng, had been laid off a week prior. Upon returning to Beijing, he bought a car and planned a carefree road trip. His sister, however, upon learning of this, scolded him vehemently and assigned him the task of picking up her niece from dance class every week. Today was his first time, and before he could even pick her up, his car was smashed to pieces in an accident, though thankfully he was unharmed. After explaining the situation, Chen Tuo anxiously pleaded, "Help me out, I'll send you the address. The little one finishes class in an hour, and if no one pick her up, my sister will kill me. Can you reschedule your flight? I'll pay for the ticket." Shen Tuo, nursing a headache, interrupted his rambling and, after a curt "send me the address," unilaterally hung up. The lobby manager, having completed the checkout process, handed Shen Tuo his ID card and a box of custom chocolates, smiling. "Mr. Shen, thank you for choosing the Grand Hyatt. These are our limited edition chocolates. Happy holidays." Shen Tuo was momentarily lost in thought again. On the way to the class, he fiddled with the chocolates, his eyes following the darkening sky. An hour and a half later, after being stuck in traffic the entire way, Shen Tuo finally arrived at the building where the dance class was held. Chen Yu's niece, Su Jiaming, was 5 years old and studying dance. Going upstairs, Shen Tuo was slightly worried he wouldn't recognize the child, or that she'd be shy and refuse to go with him. It turned out he was overthinking it. He was half an hour late. The other children had all left, leaving only Su Jiaming chatting with her teacher. He knocked on the door. Su Jiaming's eyes lit up when she saw him. She jumped up and asked, "Are you my uncle's friend?" Relieved that the child wasn't shy, Shen Tuo breathed a sigh of relief and replied, "Yes, the dance teacher," who had her back to him, turned around at the sound. Their eyes met. The instant he saw her face, Shen Tuo's throat tightened, his voice catching. It was a face he had yearned for over the past few years. His gaze traced her features repeatedly, and after confirming it was indeed her, he said her name, Wen Ying. Wen Ying slowly stood, subtly concealing a flicker of emotion, and offered Shen Tuo a polite smile. "Are you Jiaming's uncle's friend? I'll need to call her uncle to confirm before I can let you take her." Shen Tuo immediately recognized her evasion and pretense. After a moment of silence, his Adam's apple bobbed. He replied, "I am. My name is Shen Tuo. I'm her uncle, Chen Yu's friend." He emphasized his own and Chen Yu's names, slowing his speech as if asking her, "Do you really not recognize me?" Wen Ying didn't respond, skillfully avoiding his gaze. Holding Su Jiaming's hand, she stared at a corner of the room, silently waiting for the person on the other end of the line to answer. In her peripheral vision, Shen Tuo's gaze enveloped her like a tight net. Wen Ying felt his eyes on her. She unconsciously tightened her grip on Su Jiaming's hand, praying that Chen Tuo would answer quickly and end this unexpected encounter. But the call went unanswered, each second stretching into an eternity. By the third call, Wen Ying's palms were sweating. She couldn't help but tremble slightly. Su Jiaming, sensing her teacher's discomfort, asked, "Teacher Wen, is your hypoglycemia acting up again?" Before Wen Ying could answer, Shen Tuo's presence was close, so close their breaths almost mingled. "Are you all right?" He bent down, his hand reaching out as if to steady her, but then he withdrew it, seemingly thinking better of it. He pulled a small box of chocolates from his coat pocket and said, "I'll unwrap one for you. Eating one will help. After all these years, you still have hypoglycemia." Wen Ying ended the unanswered call and took a step back, her posture full of resistance. She said, "I'm fine. Don't bother." Shen Tuo's hand froze mid-unwrap. His eyes flickered, and he slowly re-wrapped the chocolate in its gold foil. He asked softly, "Didn't you used to love chocolate? Don't you like it anymore?" The question seemed non sequitur, but Wen Ying understood the underlying meaning. He continued, as if to himself, "Today is Christmas. It's your birthday. You love chocolate. I remember, Wen Ying. I remember everything. I haven't forgotten you all these years. What about you?" He lifted his eyelids, his dark pupils captivating. "What about you? Have you thought of me? Do you still hate me?" he asked. Wen Ying could no longer feign ignorance, but it was over between them. Rehashing the love and hate of that unequal relationship now seemed pointless. Just then, a call from Chun Yu rescued her. Wen Ying professionally verified the information, and once confirmed, she placed Su Jiaming's hand in his. "Mr. Shun, you can take Jiaming now. Jiaming, remember to review your moves when you get home. I'll be checking next week." Su Jiaming said, "I will, Teacher Wen. Goodbye." The child's innocent voice reminded Shen Tuo that this wasn't the right time or place for this conversation. Leading the little girl out of the dance studio, he looked back at Wen Ying. "I've been looking for you for a long time. I won't let you go this time. And happy birthday." Wen Ying was rooted to the spot by his words, her heart pounding in her chest. By the time she came to her senses, the night outside was completely dark, and it seemed to be snowing again. She put on her coat and hurried home, her steps frantic. That night, Wen Ying ate dinner, showered, and watched TV as usual, but when it came time to sleep, she tossed and turned, unable to close her eyes. Memories, like bamboo shoots after the rain, sprung up, filling her heart. Chapter 2. Wen Ying first saw Shen Tuo at the freshman welcome party held at Haiqing University in September 2015. The band Shen Tuo joined was scheduled to perform. At first, no one paid him any attention. He was the band's drummer, wearing a black baseball cap and sitting behind the lead singer. No matter how the stage lights changed, they only illuminated the sharp angles of the lower half of his face. It wasn't until the end of the song, when the whole band took a bow, that he took off his hat and casually ruffled his hair. The spotlight hit him, clearly revealing his striking features. The young man's narrow eyes were cold and sharp, his features filled with the unrestrained recklessness of his age. The girls in the audience instantly began to murmur amongst themselves. Wen Ying, as a dance student among the freshmen, was also scheduled to perform. She stood behind the curtains at the side of the stage, waiting to go on. Someone beside her said, "Did you see that drummer? He's the most handsome one in this year's freshman class. I heard he's in the computer science department. What's his name? I heard his last name is Shun. As for his full name, you can go ask him when he comes down. I'd be too embarrassed." "Huh?" Wen Ying then looked curiously at Shen Tuo, and he happened to finish his bow and walk off stage, brushing past her. Wen Ying smelled a faint mint fragrance on him. Stunned for a second, Wen Ying couldn't help but turn back to look at him. Backstage was crowded with people coming and going, but Wen Ying's eyes could only hold his tall and elegant back. The band's lead singer was hooking his shoulder, cheerfully inviting him to go to the internet cafe for an all-night gaming session, claiming he would utterly destroy him. He had walked away, but Wen Ying still managed to isolate his voice from the noisy backstage. She heard Shen Tuo chuckle, saying nonchalantly, "You? Forget it." His voice had the clean magnetism characteristic of a young man in his early 20s, with a touch of non-offensive arrogance, very pleasing to the ear. Wen Ying's heart inexplicably quickened, beating like the drum he had just played, deafeningly loud. Wen Ying, get ready to go on stage." In a daze, Wen Ying heard Teacher Zhang, the dance instructor, calling her. She looked towards the voice, seeing only darkness. Before she completely lost consciousness, she heard someone shout, "Teacher!" Wen Ying fainted. She also heard teacher Zhang frantically directing, "Go on stage. You folk dancers go on stage first. Dance as usual. Shen Tuo, come back. Help me take this student to the infirmary first. It's probably low blood sugar. I'll be right there." Shen Tuo, who had just stepped out of the backstage door, looked over quizzically, raising an eyebrow at teacher Zhang, as if to say, "You're asking me to take someone?" Teacher Zhang glared at him. "Hurry up, quickly." Shen Yushi, who was still hooking his shoulder, tactfully let go of him, clicking his tongue twice. "Your mom probably wanted you to enroll in Haicheng University, so your aunt could keep an eye on you. Look at your aunt. Her eyes are about to pop out." Shen Tuo glanced indifferently at Shen Yushi, then pushed through the crowd to Wen Ying, scooping her up in his arms. He asked, "Where's the infirmary?" Seeing that teacher Zhang was about to explode, Shen Yushi intervened. I know. I'll go get the campus car. I'll take them." "Teacher Zhang, hurry up, you two." Shen Yushi, "Yes, ma'am." Shen Yushi pulled a bunch of keys from his pocket, searching for the campus car key as he said, "Carry her to the roadside first. I'll go get the car." After saying that, Shen Yushi ran off. Shen Tuo tightened his grip on Wen Ying, quickly leaving the backstage area. In the early autumn of September, the night wind carried a hint of coolness. The open-sided campus car was exposed to the wind from all directions, blowing up the flowing skirt of Wen Ying's folk dance costume. The pearly white ribbons tied to her arms fluttered in the wind, occasionally brushing against Shen Tuo's lips. After several unsuccessful attempts to stop them, he gave up, letting the ribbons flutter freely. Through the tangled ribbons, Shen Tuo, for some reason, took a closer look at the girl in his arms. She had a delicate face, cherry lips, and was as slender as a cat. Shen Yushi, beside him, noticed Shen Tuo's gaze and teased, "What? Is this your first time holding a girl? Are you feeling butterflies?" Shen Tuo lifted his eyelids, casually looking elsewhere, too lazy to answer. When Wen Ying woke up, the first thing she saw was the snow-white ceiling. Her gaze shifted, and she saw her 3 roommates looking at her anxiously. "You're awake. You're finally awake. How are you feeling? Are you still uncomfortable anywhere?" Wen Ying shook her head, taking a while to gather enough strength to sit up. She rubbed her temples, recalling the events before she fainted. The dance performance flashed into her mind. She cried out, "The performance! Is it over?" Her 3 roommates nodded simultaneously. "It's 11 o'clock now. The party ended an hour ago." Wen Ying softly sighed, her brain continuing to load memories. A name suddenly surfaced. Shen Tuo. Was it him that the teacher called? Did he bring her here? Wen Ying's heartbeat quickened again. She lowered her head and asked in the most casual tone, "Do you know who brought me here?" Speaking of this, the 3 girls instantly became animated, winking at each other. "Guess." Wen Ying guess. Originally, Wen Ying wasn't sure, but seeing them teasing her like this, she had a general idea. "Who?" she asked softly. "It was Shen Tuo." "Do you know Shen Tuo?" "The drummer from the band that performed before us tonight. We heard about him during military training, but he's even more handsome than the rumors." "Yeah. After he carried you away, all the girls backstage were asking about him." Wen Ying caught a key word, carried. The wave brought on by her racing heartbeat was about to drown Wen Ying. She felt her low blood sugar acting up again, making her dizzy. Her roommate shook Wen Ying's arm, pointing to the cabinet beside the bed. "Look, he left this candy for you too." Wen Ying followed her gaze and saw an unopened pack of lemon mint candies. "Why? Why'd he leave me candy?" Wen Ying asked. Her roommate explained, "After you were brought here, teacher Zhang arrived shortly after. We came after our performance. When we got here, teacher Zhang was asking Shen Tuo to buy some candy. He took this pack out of his pocket and asked teacher Zhang if it was okay, then left it for you. Teacher Zhang told us to remind you to always carry candy with you and take care of yourself." Wen Ying hummed in acknowledgement, clutching the candy and returning to the dormitory with her roommates. The wind was even cooler at midnight, but walking down the road, Wen Ying only felt her whole body burning up. A continuous stream of warmth was welling up inside her, unyielding to the wind's attempts to dispel it. Before lights out, Wen Ying secretly unwrapped a mint candy. The transparent, ice-colored candy melted in her mouth. The sweetness of the syrup and the coolness of the mint extract flowed into her heart, leaving a lingering aftertaste. From that day on, Wen Ying replaced the chocolate in her backpack with this brand of mint candy. But for a long time afterwards, Wen Ying didn't see Shen Tuo again. The university was too big, time was too free, and there were too many opportunities to miss someone. Fortunately, Shen Tuo was quite famous, and Wen Ying would occasionally hear news about him. They said that teacher Zhang was Shen Tuo's aunt, and they were both from Haicheng, from well-off families, but his relationship with his family didn't seem to be very good. They said that Shen Tuo rarely went to band practice. It was his good friend Shen Yushi who insisted on pulling him into the band at the beginning of the school year. They said that Shen Tuo skipping classes was a regular occurrence, and he was rarely seen during the week. They said that Shen Tuo was competing in some esports game outside of school, and his team was already the city champion. Wen Ying paid close attention to everything about him, filled with anticipation every day, and also filled with disappointment. She would slow down when passing the basketball court after class, searching for his figure. When entering Teacher Zhang's office, she would hope that they were talking there because of their family connection. After getting his class schedule, she even mustered the courage to attend a few of his public classes alone. But all to no avail. As 2015 turned into 2016, the school held a New Year's Eve party, and Wen Ying didn't find him there. But just when she had lost all hope, Wen Ying saw him. Chapter 3. After the New Year's Eve party, Wen Ying, as class monitor, was responsible for cleaning and taking inventory of the performance costumes. That evening, Wen Ying carried a box of freshly laundered costumes to Teacher Zhang's office. Just as she reached the door, before she had time to free a hand in her vision to open it, she collided head-on with Shen Tuo, who stormed out with an aura of intense negativity. Clothes scattered across the floor, and Wen Ying fell backward. He was backlit, his features obscured, but Wen Ying recognized him instantly. As she felt embarrassed by her awkward fall, she saw him extend a hand towards her. "Are you all right?" he asked. Wen Ying stretched out her trembling hand and, with his help, stood up. She didn't dare look directly at him, murmuring, "I'm fine," before hurriedly gathering the scattered clothes. The costumes were covered in shimmering sequins that prickled her palms, but what truly burned into her memory was the warmth and firmness of Shen Tuo's hand. Wen Ying stole glances at him from the corner of her eye. She saw him squat down and deftly help pick up the clothes. But his face was grim, his dark, deep-set eyes devoid of light and warmth under the setting sun, like rocks soaked in black water, cold and heavy. She guessed he must have just had an argument with Teacher Zhang, but she had no right to ask or comfort him. After they finished gathering the clothes, Shen Tuo offered a perfunctory apology and strode away. Wen Ying hesitated briefly, knocked on the office door, gave a concise report, and then trotted after Shen Tuo. The sun was setting, casting a myriad of rays. The path to their respective dormitories overlapped for a stretch. Wen Ying maintained a certain distance, slowly following behind him. She walked the path he walked, saw the sights he saw, so happy she wanted to hum a little tune. Preoccupied with his own thoughts, Shen Tuo didn't notice he was being tailed. He strode into the boys' dormitory. Shen Yu was belting out a song in the dorm room. The moment Shen Tuo pushed open the door, the atmosphere inexplicably plummeted to freezing. He silently took off his down jacket and sweater, grabbed a t-shirt and underwear from the wardrobe, and went into the bathroom. Listening to the sound of running water, Shen Yu stroked his chin and asked, "What's up? Who pissed him off again? Wasn't he off at a competition? Why is he back so soon?" The others pursed their lips and shook their heads. Shen Tuo came out of the shower, irritably rubbing his hair. His phone on the table vibrated incessantly. The caller ID showed his teammate, Jia. Shen Tuo's movement stopped. The next second, he flung the towel in his hand and answered the call, suppressing his anger. He addressed the caller by his full name. "Zhao Jiajia, you have the nerve to call me?" The other end stammered, offering only apologies. Shen Tuo said coldly, "You don't need to apologize to me. I'm the blind one for recruiting you to the team." He hung up, took a deep breath, and asked Shen Yu for a cigarette. Shen Yu was surprised. "Didn't you say you quit smoking?" Shen Tuo bit the cigarette, shielded the flame with one hand, and lit it with the other. After a few puffs, he said, "Zhao Jiajia is in debt from online gambling." Shen Yu was confused. Shen Tuo slowly added, "He threw the match. Their team's ticket to the World Championship was lost because of this. A year of his hard work, all for nothing." 18 years old was the beginning of the downhill slope for an esports athlete. Shen Tuo didn't know how much time he had left to start over. After finishing the cigarette, Shen Tuo crushed the butt, put on his jacket, and prepared to leave. Seeing him come and go in such a hurry, Shen Yu couldn't help but ask, "You just got back, and you're leaving again?" Shen Tuo waved his hand, going home to get chewed out. News of Shen Tuo's team's defeat quickly spread across the school forum. Connecting the timing, Wen Ying realized that his foul mood that day was due to losing the match. Later, Wen Ying overheard teacher Zhang on the phone during dance class, seemingly discussing Shen Tuo's future with his parents. Teacher Zhang sighed, saying, "I had a heart-to-heart with him after he came back from the competition last time, but that stubborn boy wouldn't listen. If he had listened, how would your last meeting have ended in such a heated argument?" Teacher Zhang continued, "Or, I say you leave him be. Kids his age are full of passion. Anyway, you have the means to support him, so why not let him play for a few more years? After he graduates from university, he'll naturally know what path he should take." Teacher Zhang concluded, all right, I'll keep an eye on him and try to persuade him again." Wen Ying strained her ears to catch a few more sentences, finally understanding what had truly happened that day. Shen Tuo had been away at a competition during the New Year's holiday and missed the family gathering. His parents were furious, even more so when they learned it was because of gaming. Teacher Zhang had tried to reason with him at school beforehand, but he still had a huge fight with his parents after returning home. Wen Ying didn't have a good impression of esports, but because it was something Shen Tuo wanted to do, she couldn't help but ask herself, in this vast world, why couldn't being a professional gamer be a viable path? Afterward, Wen Ying started cramming on esports knowledge, downloaded the same game to experience the gameplay firsthand, and began to follow Shen Tuo's competitions more closely. He was just as teacher Zhang described, young and passionate. His teammates' betrayal hadn't defeated him. After the new year, he continued to train and compete in spring tournaments, traveling to various cities. That year, the game's streaming industry boomed, and Wen Ying could easily watch official tournaments through live broadcasts. She watched his joys and frustrations through the screen, analyzed his thoughts through his gameplay. When they won a match and embraced under a shower of confetti, Wen Ying, though miles away, congratulated him through the computer screen. His top-tier skills and handsome looks quickly brought him fame, even landing him on Weibo's trending topics a few times. More and more people admired him, and the distance between Wen Ying and him grew wider and wider. At the end of their junior year, as they approached their senior year, Wen Ying's family started introducing her to potential partners. Wen Ying repeatedly refused. Her parents weren't particularly forceful, only saying, "You're about to graduate. You need to start thinking about these important life matters." On a late summer night, Wen Ying leaned against the window, watching the stars. She suddenly felt that the distance between her and Shen Tuo was just like this. He had become a distant, unreachable dream. At the start of their senior year, Wen Ying cleared her mind and devoted herself to preparing for her graduation thesis. On the eve of National Day, the campus was more than half empty. Wen Ying chose not to go home and stayed in the library researching. By the time she finished, the sun had just set, the orange afterglow blending with the blue twilight sky, creating a tranquil scene. Wen Ying decided to go to the rooftop garden of the library for some fresh air, but the moment she pushed open the door, her heart skipped a beat. She stared in disbelief at the young man smoking ahead. It was Shen Tuo. He leaned casually against the railing, his eyes carrying a world-weary coldness. A cigarette was held between his long fingers, just about to be brought to his lips when the motion paused as Wen Ying entered. Their eyes met, The atmosphere shifted, and the sky darkened inch by inch, leaving only the flickering ember of his cigarette. Shen Tuo extinguished the cigarette and said calmly, "It's you." Wen Ying's ears rang. Her mind flooded with countless questions. He remembered her? How did he remember her? Had he mistaken her for someone else? Seeing her standing there stiffly, Shen Tuo continued, "Are you here for some fresh air too?" Wen Ying stammered out a single, "Just finished writing your thesis?" Yes. Was it difficult? A little." The night breeze rustled, stirring the strands of hair on the young man's forehead and the hem of his t-shirt, as well as his emotions. Shen Tuo's gaze softened slightly. He asked Wen Ying, "Am I making you uncomfortable being here?" No. "Then why are you just standing there?" Wen Ying clutched her books tightly and blurted out what was on her mind. "Do you know me?" Shen Tuo said, "The one who fainted at the freshman welcome party, Zhang Mi's favorite student." Zhang Mi was Teacher Zhang's name. He actually knew that Teacher Zhang liked her a lot. He actually remembered that fainting incident. The overwhelming information made Wen Ying feel breathless, almost lightheaded. Shen Tuo watched as Wen Ying's cheeks flushed, showing signs of fainting again. He frowned. "You're not going to?" "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." Wen Ying interrupted him, shaking her head vigorously. A few seconds later, the evening breeze carried a low chuckle from Shen Tuo. Wen Ying looked up. He was still in that relaxed posture, but his eyes, fixed on her, held a hint of amusement blended with the night, revealing a subtle, almost predatory glint. He asked her, "What's your name?" Chapter 4. After this, Shen Tuo asked her to study at the library every few days. Gradually, this evolved into having lunch and dinner together, then evening strolls around campus, circling until the dormitory doors closed. They chatted about everything under the sun, except esports, which remained unspoken. News traveled fast online, and even without actively seeking it out, Wen Ying knew that Shen Tuo had recently withdrawn from the competition and his team. He had once again missed his chance at this year's World Championship. The reason stemmed from a match in September. A teammate had triggered a game bug, instantly killing Baron Asher, which violated the game rules and resulted in a 3-month suspension. The substitute player wasn't skilled enough, and the coach, manager, and remaining teammates, eager to win, recruited a ringer, Zhao Jiajia, who had been banned for 2 years for match fixing but had made a forceful return. Shen Tuo held a deep reverence for the competition and refused to be teammates with someone with a history of match fixing. He resolutely withdrew from the competition and the team, splitting public opinion online. Shen Tuo returned to campus as if nothing had happened, starting to prepare for graduation. But when he knew this was a knot in his heart. In early November, Shen Tuo's former team performed as usual, securing a spot in the World Championship Finals. National excitement soared. Everyone hoped China would win its first World Championship for this game. That same night, Wen Ying received a call from Shen Yu. He said, "Hello, Wen Ying? Shen Tuo is drunk. Keeps calling your name. Can you come over? We're at the Golden Drunk KTV off campus." Wen Ying grabbed her coat and rushed over. Inside the brightly lit, noisy private room, music blasted, lights flashed, and a drunken Shen Tuo sat on the sofa, head tilted back, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly. Chen Yu and the others, seeing Wen Ying's arrival, tactfully gave them space. Wen Ying walked up to Shen Tuo, gently stroked his sweaty forehead, and called to him, "Shen Tuo? Shen Tuo? Are you all right?" Hearing her voice, Shen Tuo opened his eyes, panting. He stared for a few seconds, then uncertainly called out, "Wen Ying, I'm here." His eyes were red-rimmed, his lashes clumped together, his fair skin flushed a light pink from the alcohol, like a hedgehog without its armor. Wen Ying's heart ached with tenderness, her voice softening. She said, "Are you very sad?" "Don't be sad, Shen Tuo. You still have a long way to go." Shen Tuo looked at her, didn't speak, just grasped Wen Ying's hand, and after stroking it a few times, without warning, pulled her into his arms, hugged her, and kissed her. His kiss was forceful and deep, the bitter taste of malt mixed with mint flooding Wen Ying's mouth. Wen Ying didn't resist, tremblingly accepting him. Just like that, they were together. No confession, no flowers, just a kiss that couldn't be explained. Shen Tuo's mood remained low until the World Championship ended. He often wore a cold expression, spoke little, a completely different person from before. Wen Ying carefully catered to his mood, proactively inviting him to amusement parks and movies. She tried everything couples should do, but he remained uninterested. The most affectionate moments were probably when he walked her back to her dorm, leaving a kiss on her forehead before parting. The competition ended at the end of December. China once again missed the World Championship. Shen Tuo's mood worsened. Wen Ying knew what he was thinking. If they had won, he would have felt uneasy, but with their loss, he, like everyone who loved the game, felt deflated and disappointed. The dream of a Chinese world champion was one they had held since their youth. His inner turmoil had no outlet. For a week, he immersed himself in the band, nearly beating the drums to pieces and constantly smoking in his spare time. Wen Ying quietly stayed by his side, watching him drum, lighting his cigarettes. But Wen Ying had heard from Chunyu that Shen Tuo wasn't a heavy smoker. He often carried candies and would eat one when he was frustrated, not relying on tobacco. The mint candy from their first encounter stemmed from this. One day, the temperature in Haicheng rose above freezing. He coughed as he prepared to light a cigarette. Wen Ying realized he would make himself sick if this continued. She took the cigarette from his mouth and pulled a mint candy from her pocket. She asked him with a smile, "Don't smoke, okay? Have a candy." In the sunlight, Wen Ying's features were clear and soft. Shen Tuo's heart softened, and he took the candy. Seeing his continued preoccupation, Wen Ying comforted him. So many new teams are rising now. With your record and skill, a comeback isn't difficult. Shen Tuo looked away towards the activity room window. He said hoarsely, "I'm already 22. My hand speed and reflexes can't compare to when I was a teenager. It's over, Wen Ying. It's all over." This was the truth. Wen Ying couldn't find a way to argue. She tugged at his shirt and, as he turned back, stood on tiptoe and kissed him. Shen Tuo paused for a moment before responding to Wen Ying's kiss. His kiss was as domineering as ever, but Wen Ying felt something had changed. After returning, Wen Ying inexplicably couldn't sleep. Tossing and turning, she finally understood what was wrong as dawn broke. She felt lost, just like when she had eagerly anticipated seeing him but never could. She felt lost. Was it because of his hesitant response? Wen Ying didn't think so, but what was it exactly? Wen Ying couldn't figure it out. January ended, and winter break arrived, bringing her first real separation from Shen Tuo. She had a lot to say to him, but when she messaged him to meet, he replied that he had left school yesterday and gone home early due to something. Wen Ying froze. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled up through their chat history. They hadn't contacted each other for a few days because of final exams. Before that, it was just perfunctory good mornings and good nights, every day, initiated and ended by her. She asked herself, if she hadn't actively sought him out, would they have lost contact, or would they have broken up? On the train back to Beijing, Wen Ying suddenly understood why she felt lost. In reality, she had known all along. She just hadn't wanted to think about it. Her chats, walks, and meals with Shen Tuo were just a way for him to pass the time after withdrawing from the competition. His kiss was just a drunken impulse. The stress of the competition had overwhelmed him, leaving him no energy for this relationship. She, Wen Ying, had been nothing but a comforting balm for his disappointment. Perhaps he had some affection for her, but it occupied a tiny space in his life, so small that he could easily ignore it. Staring at the scenery flashing by outside the train window, Wen Ying's tears flowed uncontrollably. Chapter 5. Throughout the entire winter break, and even during the Lunar New Year, Wen Ying didn't proactively contact him. As she expected, Shen Tuo didn't send her a single message. On New Year's Eve, her phone vibrated constantly, but it was all New Year's greetings from others. Wen Ying felt utterly lost and buried herself under the covers, crying her heart out. She had a premonition. The name Shen Tuo was about to be crossed out of her life. After the new year, school started again and thesis defenses loomed, making everyone exceptionally busy. Wen Ying was burning the midnight oil revising her paper, and in her spare time, she was also submitting resumes and preparing for interviews. Regarding Shen Tuo, she was back to relying on hearsay. She heard that he hadn't been to school since the start of the semester. She heard that his family was wealthy and his parents were preparing for him to take over the family business. She heard that he had broken up with Wen Ying from the dance department. Close classmates came to her one after another to inquire. But Wen Ying hid all her emotions, smiling as she told them to ask Shen Tuo himself. Time passed day by day. In mid-April, Wen Ying, whose mood had already become exceptionally calm, suddenly received a text message from Shen Tuo. He said, "I've been busy with something lately and haven't been able to attend to you. I'll be back for the thesis defense. Wait for me." Wen Ying's heart softened a little. How could she simply stop liking someone she had liked for so many years? But she wasn't the same 18-year-old girl who had just entered university. She understood deeply that their relationship wouldn't last, that it was unfair. Campus life creates dreams, and society shatters them. Now, they were standing at this critical juncture. After a brief hesitation, Wen Ying deleted the message, pretending she hadn't seen it. Later, Shen Tuo continued to send her messages and even called, but Wen Ying didn't reply. She interviewed for several jobs in different cities. Either she didn't like the company or the company didn't like her. The difficulty of finding employment hit many graduates like a ton of bricks. In just a few months, everyone shed their student naivete and fell into their own troubles. At the beginning of May, Wen Ying, busy preparing for her thesis defense, was suddenly intercepted by Chen Yu on her way back to the dormitory. He asked breathlessly, "Wen Ying, why aren't you replying to Shen Tuo's messages? Are you two fighting? Everyone's asking me if you've broken up. Or is your phone broken?" Wen Ying looked tired. She didn't want to talk about Shen Tuo too much, so she went along with Chen Yu's words. "Yes, my phone is broken." Chen Yu grinned and pulled a brand new, unactivated iPhone out of his pocket and handed it to Wen Ying. "Shen Tuo also guessed that your phone might be broken or stolen, so he asked me to buy you a new one." Wen Ying was stunned for a moment, then smiled faintly and politely declined. "No need. I already bought one this afternoon." "Ah, you bought one? Then remember to send Shen Tuo a message." Wen Ying said she would. Back in the dormitory, after washing off the sticky sweat, Wen Ying stepped out of the bathroom with the premonition that her low blood sugar was acting up again. She quickly returned to her desk and opened a drawer. Inside were two kinds of candy, the chocolate she once loved most and Shen Tuo's mint candies. She lowered her eyes and took a chocolate, the familiar taste. She realized she still loved the melt-in-your-mouth sweetness of chocolate the most. Thinking that she was about to graduate and no longer needed to maintain her figure so strictly as before, Wen Ying ate another one. The warm May breeze blew gently from the dormitory balcony. Wen Ying felt refreshed. After calming down, she sent Shen Tuo a message. She said, "Let's break up." He didn't reply. Maybe he saw it, maybe he didn't, but it didn't matter anymore. After sending the message, Wen Ying deleted all his contact information. At the end of May, Wen Ying had her thesis defense. Although the process was nerve-wracking, it went smoothly and ended successfully. She and her dorm mates were discussing where to go for dinner to celebrate. Wen Ying, a familiar voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. Wen Ying didn't need to turn around to know that the person calling her name was Shen Tuo. As if in some idol drama scene, the surrounding classmates stepped back, making way for them. Wen Ying tried her best to ignore the scrutiny of those around her and walked to Shen Tuo's side, whispering, "Let's talk somewhere else." Her voice was still so soft and gentle that Shen Tuo almost wondered if someone had played a prank and sent that breakup text from her phone. He grabbed Wen Ying's wrist and pulled her to the small garden behind the teaching building. The spring sunshine was bright, flowers were in full bloom, and a few butterflies danced around, but what lingered between them was an endless coldness. Shen Tuo lowered his eyes, his gaze intense, and asked her in a low voice, "Did you send that breakup text?" Wen Ying didn't quite understand the logic of his question, but she didn't want to dwell on it. She nodded. Why? There were too many reasons she could give. Wen Ying chose a reason that wouldn't hurt his feelings. We're not very suitable. Shen Tuo let out a humorless laugh. Were we not suitable? Tell me. Personality, temperament, life direction. We're just not very suitable. Really? I think we're perfectly suitable. With that, he cupped the back of Wen Ying's head and kissed her without a care. Wen Ying resisted and tried to dodge. Their lips and teeth clashed, and she bit Shen Tuo's lip. A faint metallic taste spread through both their mouths. She looked up and met Shen Tuo's restrained eyes. The corners reddened for some unknown reason. He rolled his Adam's apple and spat out a few words. We're not breaking up. I don't agree. Wen Ying's heart felt like it had been pierced. Her eyes reddened as well. She blamed herself for liking him so much and for still liking him now. She also blamed him for making such a scene today. Wen Ying asked him in a shaky voice, "Why don't you agree? I like you. Why should I break up with you?" Tears shimmered in Wen Ying's eyes. She pushed him away, asking in disbelief, "You like me? Do you really like me?" Shen Tuo, "Of course I like you. You're my..." The words first love hadn't left his mouth before Wen Ying cut him off. She regained her composure and asked him, "You like me? Then do you know what my favorite food is? Do you know where I'm going after graduation? Do you know my birthday?" Shen Tuo's throat was dry and tight because he couldn't answer a single question. Wen Ying spoke slowly and deliberately. "But I know you. You're a picky eater. You like to eat fish, but don't like picking out the bones. Your lemon water has to be made with 3 slices of medium-sized fresh lemon. Before every competition, you have a mint candy to relieve your anxiety. I also know that even though you withdrew from the competition before, you still hold onto the hope of winning the world championship. Maybe you've recently thrown yourself back into it, ready to rise again. Your birthday is October 25th, but you don't really like celebrating it because getting older means fewer opportunities to play professionally. I also know, Wen Ying." He interrupted her. Wen Ying stopped and repeated the same question. "Shen Tuo, do you really like me?" He was silent. After a long time, he said something that completely shattered Wen Ying's heart. He asked her, "What about you? Can your love for me only last a few months?" The light in Wen Ying's eyes quickly dimmed. She nodded. "Yes, because you're not that great. You can only make someone like you for a few months." With such harsh words spoken, everything was irredeemable. Shen Tuo wiped the blood from his lip, his eyes indifferent. "Fine, break up." He brushed past her without looking back, leaving behind only a trace of the mint scent Wen Ying knew so well. It filled her nostrils and went straight to her lungs, a bone-chilling cold. Chapter 6. Graduation arrived, and everyone scattered, embarking on new lives. Chen Yu's band dreams were replaced by the 996 work schedule. After a few months of this drudgery, he fell ill from exhaustion, granting him a few days of much-needed rest. The night before returning to the grind, Chen Yu remembered his wealthy friend, Shen Tuo, whom he hadn't contacted in a while. Shen Tuo had just finished a meeting when he received Chen Yu's call, his eyes revealing undeniable fatigue. Standing before a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the bustling traffic, he listened to Chen Yu's rambling, his mood worsening with each passing sentence. Until Chen Yu casually mentioned, "It's been a few months since graduation. Finally, it's National Day holiday. I'm planning to go back to Beicheng to see my parents for the holiday. So, what do you say, are you free tonight? Let's grab a drink." The words National Day caught Shen Tuo's attention. He couldn't help but recall that time last year. Last year, during National Day, he had quit the team and the competition, his dreams shattered, and Wen Ying had stood before him after opening the door. Yet, in just a short year, his life plan had veered onto a different path, and Wen Ying had left him. The thought of Wen Ying plummeted Shen Tuo's mood to freezing point. A tangle of emotions threatened to consume him. He closed his eyes, cutting Chen Yu off mid-sentence. "Send me your location. I'll be there soon." After hanging up, Shen Tuo grabbed his parka and headed out. His secretary cautiously called out to him, "Mr. Shen, are you leaving for the day? There's another meeting at 8 o'clock." Shen Tuo hadn't forgotten. His tone was even. "Something came up. Reschedule it for tomorrow. Everyone's worked hard. Take them out for dinner. It's on me." Secretary. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shen. After Shen Tuo disappeared, a few female employees gathered together, sighing, the new generation of leaders is certainly more humane. It's just a pity. Yeah, a pity he just graduated from university, and I'm already a mother of two. Otherwise, I'd definitely take a shot. Someone chimed in with a laugh. Our Mr. Shen isn't an easy target. He always has that cold expression. Doesn't seem like much fun. For a husband, you still need someone gentle and considerate. At a roadside barbecue stall, after a few rounds of drinks, Shen Tuo let out a soft sigh, shoving his hands into his parka pockets. He leaned back against the low chair, gazing quietly at the night sky, a night sky polluted by city lights, resembling stagnant water. The late autumn night breeze swept by in gusts, stinging his eyes. Chen Yu, who held his liquor better, squinted at him. Seeing Shen Tuo's unusual silence, he sighed and asked, "No way? Drunk after just a couple of drinks? Don't you dare get drunk, and don't you dare call a certain someone's name. This time, I can't bring her to you." Shen Tuo glanced sideways at him. Chen Yu lifted his chin. "All right, you've been holding it in for so long. Now that we've had some drinks, and you've made the time, tell me, what happened between you and Wen Ying? How did things get so awkward that she even deleted me?" Shen Tuo uttered a few words, neither light nor heavy. "Don't want to talk about it. TSK, you're like this. I knew it. This is exactly why. Wen Ying definitely broke up with you because you're too boring. Why should I be interesting?" Chen Yu was momentarily speechless. He asked curiously, "Did you talk like this when you were with Wen Ying?" Chen Yu's words stirred the memories Shen Tuo had deliberately suppressed. For months had passed since the breakup. He rarely allowed himself to think of Wen Ying, and if he did, he could quickly detach himself. Tonight, it must be the alcohol playing tricks, as everything about Wen Ying came flooding back like a broken dam. Was he like this when he was with Wen Ying? He didn't know. His memories were always of Wen Ying smiling and chatting with him, while he listened and responded. Perhaps he was just a lousy person not worthy of being loved forever. Chen Yu nudged him with his elbow. "I asked you a question. Why is it so hard to talk to you?" Shen Tuo remained unmoved. Only after a while, he asked an abrupt question. "When is your ex-girlfriend's birthday?" "January 1st. Chen Yu blurted out. "What's her favorite food?" "All the spicy food in the world." "Where is she now?" "At." Chen Yu became wary. "What are you doing? Are you going to chase after my ex?" Shen Tuo, just asking. "Your ex isn't my type. Don't worry. Oh, now I really get it." Chen Yu gave a meaningful smile. "Now it's my turn to ask you. When is Wen Ying's birthday?" Shen Tuo. "What does Wen Ying like to eat?" "Do you know where Wen Ying went to work after graduation?" Chen Yu. "You're really good at relationships, huh? Don't even know your girlfriend's basic information? Back then, seeing you two always together, I thought you were some kind of expert." Shen Tuo remained silent. His soft breaths turned into white mist that dissipated in the night wind. At some point, a thin layer of red had covered his dark eyes. Back at his apartment, Shen Tuo sat on the edge of his bed, staring blankly at his phone for a long time. He typed and deleted messages in the text box, wanting to ask if she could forgive him, if she could give him another chance, if she could continue trying to like him. But in the end, he sent a non-committal. "What are you doing?" Wen Ying didn't reply, even by daybreak. He called her, and, as expected, he had been blocked. At that time, Shen Tuo hadn't fully grasped the feeling of losing Wen Ying. He was just a bit melancholy, a bit irritated. He had to admit, he really didn't know how to be in a relationship. He was so bad at it, he didn't even know how to love someone. Later, he tried to contact Wen Ying through Zhongmi, but Wen Ying cleverly avoided revealing any information, only exchanging polite pleasantries with Zhongmi. Soon after, Zhongmi discovered that Wen Ying had closed off her WeChat moments. Later, he contacted her 3 roommates from university, and they all blocked him. Later, he changed his phone number again and again, dialing her, forcing her to change all her contact information. Later, there was no later. In an age of readily available information, an age devoid of privacy, he couldn't find a single trace of her. He had truly lost her. Back in her hometown of Beicheng, Wen Ying also spent a long time completely severing ties with Shen Tuo, although she would still uncontrollably think of him at times. She didn't shy away from talking about him, from remembering him. In her university dorm group chat, her friends would occasionally curse him out. Weibo hot searches would recommend esports news based on her preferences. With the rise of short videos, Wen Ying would also come across videos others made of him. In the age of big data, if she paused on a piece of information, more and more would follow. Through these snippets of information, Wen Ying pieced together Shen Tuo's life during the last 6 months of their time at university. They said that the top-tier mid-laner genius, Shen Tuo, was a rich second-generation heir. If he didn't perform well in a game, he'd have to go back and inherit the family business. The team suspension and the return of the match-fixing teammate had left him dejected, so he really did go back to inherit the family business. But he had a bet with his father. If he made a name for himself in the investment world within a year, his father would relinquish control and provide him with the funds to start his own business. A year later, Shen Tuo founded the TY Esports Club, signing 2 of the hottest players at the time. The news used a picture from Shen Tuo's breakout match. The young man wore black headphones, his forehead framed by messy strands of hair, revealing ambitious dark eyes. Coupled with his sharp, defined features, he was undeniably handsome. Wen Ying stared at the photo for a long time. She sighed softly in her heart. So everything really was as she had thought. He was indeed making a comeback. But in the next second, Shen Tuo's sharp words uncontrollably echoed in Wen Ying's mind. Can your love for me only last a few months? That night, the spring breeze was gentle, but Wen Ying's heart ached with a bittersweet pang. Lying in bed, she covered her eyes with her hand, comforting herself. It's over. Don't think about it. Go to sleep. You have to work tomorrow. Later still, time passed. Her friends stopped mentioning Shen Tuo. Wen Ying's, you might be interested in recommendations, changed from esports to cute animals. Only the sweet chocolate remained Wen Ying's favorite. Every time her colleagues saw her eating it, they would say, "You can still eat such sweet things?" I used to love it too, but now I guess it's because I'm older, one bite of chocolate is sickeningly sweet for 3 years. Wen Ying's response was, life is too bitter. It needs a bit of sugar. Her colleagues would say, what you need isn't sugar, it's a sweet relationship. Wen Ying admitted frankly, I've been on a few blind dates, but I haven't felt any sparks. Her colleagues resonated deeply. That's what happens when you get older. Your taste buds deteriorate, and so does your ability to feel those butterflies. The conversation having reached this point, her colleagues couldn't help but reminisce. I really want to go back to being a teenager. Back then, I wasn't a cold-hearted cynic. My first love hadn't gotten fat yet, and we could just kiss all day long. Wen Ying sighed along with her. The next moment, the 2 women looked at each other and laughed. There was nothing they could do. Life was probably just that messed up. Chapter 7, December 26th, 2024. Wen Ying, who had been sleepless all night, woke with a splitting headache. As dawn broke, she rubbed her temples and, as usual, opened the curtains, hoping to gaze into the distance to relax. But everywhere she looked, after a night of snow, was a blanket of white. In this unbroken expanse of white, a starkly contrasting black figure stood downstairs. A buzzing filled Wen Ying's ears. She froze by the window, repeatedly confirming that she wasn't dreaming, that this wasn't a hallucination. The person standing downstairs really was Shen Tuo. As if sensing her gaze, he suddenly looked up. Wen Ying's heart lurched, and she quickly ducked to the side. Her back pressed tightly against the wall, her chest heaving with each breath, a feeling of having narrowly escaped disaster washing over her. Before she could process it, ding dong, the doorbell rang. Wen Ying's heart leaped into her throat again. She knew it must be Shen Tuo outside the door. She lived in an older resettlement apartment building, 6 stories high, 2 apartments per floor, easy to figure out. But how did he know she lived in this complex? What did he want? The doorbell continued to ring, Wen Ying's mind a chaotic mess. Yet, she seemed to know the reason for his appearance. His words yesterday had been clear enough. But after all these years, could such love truly exist in this world? She abruptly recalled the scene of their breakup, her racing heart and thoughts suddenly stilled. 3 minutes later, Wen Ying put on a coat and opened the door for him. The moment the door opened, he was still mechanically pressing the doorbell like a stubborn child. Wen Ying frowned, using her eyes to interrupt his childish behavior. She looked at him quietly. "What do you want?" "To see you." Shen Tuo lowered his head slightly, his voice low and soft, but his eyes were deep like a swirling vortex beneath a calm surface. Unable to meet his gaze, Wen Ying looked away, tightening her collar, and said indifferently, "You've seen me now. Can you go? I want to talk to you. But I heard you have to work today. Can we have dinner after you finish at 6? "Heard? Who told you?" Shen Tuo knew what Wen Ying meant and explained. "The owner of your institution is a friend of a former business partner of mine. That's how he got her address." Anger and surprise mingled in Wen Ying's eyes. Shen Tuo knew this wasn't entirely proper, but he couldn't care less. "Wen Ying, what I said yesterday was true," he said. Recalling yesterday's events, Wen Ying's face stiffened slightly. She mentally searched for the right words, thinking how to simply end this accident. Shen Tuo was also staring at her, seemingly waiting for a response. His intense gaze made Wen Ying's heart race again. A jarring alarm rang inappropriately. Wen Ying angrily pulled her phone from her pocket and slammed the stop button. Silence hung in the air for a few moments before Wen Ying sighed. She knew that superficial words wouldn't get rid of Shen Tuo. Clutching her phone, she lowered her voice and said slowly, "It's been so many years. I don't know what you're thinking or what you want to do, but Shen Tuo, our relationship ended a long time ago. I loved you, so I remember you. I blamed you at the time, but I don't think I hate you. But really, it's over. Don't do this. I feel like your behavior is disturbing me." This clearly wasn't the answer he wanted. Wen Ying's repeated insistence that they were in the past stung him like needles. Shen Tuo pursed his lips and said only, "I'll wait for you to get off work. We'll talk tonight." "Shen Tuo, you can't do this. I don't want this. I'll wait for you to get off work," he repeated. Wen Ying's head was still throbbing. She felt exhausted. The conversation going nowhere, she decisively closed the door. The closing door practically slapped Shen Tuo in the face, but his expression visibly relaxed. After a moment, he sat down on the stairs, hunched over, his hands buried in his hair, slowly scratching his scalp, letting out a long breath. It was real. He had really seen Wen Ying. He thought. Inside, Wen Ying rushed through washing up and changing, feeling like a zombie, her mind blank. 15 minutes later, when she hurried out, she found Shen Tuo still there. He sat on the stairwell, his back looking slightly thin and frail, with remnants of unmelted snow on his shoulders. Wen Ying couldn't think straight. Pretending not to see him, she closed the door and walked straight past him, jogging down the stairs. His footsteps followed closely behind. When Wen Ying reached the roadside at the entrance of the complex, her ride-hailing car arrived. Just as she closed the car door, Shen Tuo silently got into the passenger seat. The driver didn't ask questions, started the engine, and drove off. Silence filled the car. Arriving at the institution, Wen Ying clocked in, changed clothes, and prepared for her children's classes as usual, except there was an extra figure outside the dance studio. Her classes lasted from morning till evening, and Shen Tuo waited outside from morning till evening. The moment she clocked out, Wen Ying was mentally and physically exhausted. She deliberately ignored Shen Tuo again, leaving work with her colleagues, chatting and laughing. Yet, she contradictorily kept an eye on him. He followed behind her silently, just as he had that morning. Then, he squeezed onto the same bus with her. It was another snowy day. Snowflakes drifted into the bus with them, landing on the tip of her nose, melting into a subtle coolness. Wen Ying stopped the driver from starting, looked at the person beside her, and said, "I'm going home. I don't want to have dinner with you. Don't follow me. Get off." Shen Tuo didn't speak. Wen Ying was annoyed. "I told you to get off." Shen Tuo remained motionless. He lowered his head, his dark hair covering his eyes. Wen Ying heard his breathing become slow and shallow, as if he was holding something back. It felt strangely unsettling. Wen Ying stopped talking and tentatively nudged Shen Tuo. He still didn't react much. She bent down and leaned closer, seeing a pale face beaded with cold sweat. He seemed to be in pain, his lips an alarming white. Wen Ying's heart tightened. Her voice softened incredibly. "Are you okay? What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Shen Tuo closed his eyes, lowered and then raised his head, grabbed Wen Ying's hand, squeezing it painfully, and gasped, struggling to squeeze out 2 words. "Stomach ache." Wen Ying froze for a moment, then hesitantly held his hand back and told the driver to drive. The institution wasn't far from her apartment, a 20-minute drive. When they arrived at the complex, Wen Ying helped him out of the car and all the way to her apartment. Shen Tuo sat back on the sofa, pale and breathing rapidly. Wen Ying didn't even bother to change her shoes, heading straight to the kitchen to boil water for medicine and cook rice porridge. 5 minutes later, a cup of stomach medicine at the right temperature was handed to Shen Tuo. "Drink this first. If you still don't feel well later, I'll take you to the hospital," Wen Ying said. Shen Tuo opened his eyes, took the medicine, and slowly drank it while gazing at Wen Ying. Wen Ying still wasn't used to his gaze, feeling like ants were crawling all over her. After taking the empty cup, she returned to the kitchen and didn't come out again. When the rice porridge was done, the rice cooker beeped. Wen Ying lifted the lid, the steam and aroma of rice wafting towards her. She gently stirred the porridge with a ceramic spoon, not noticing someone standing behind her. Turning to get a bowl, she bumped into Shen Tuo, who was standing extremely close. Shen Tuo quickly grabbed her wrist and steadied her. You. They spoke simultaneously. After a pause, they spoke again at the same time. "Are you feeling better? Are you making porridge for me?" Shen Tuo said, "I'm fine now." Wen Ying said, "Then have a bowl of porridge before you leave." "I'm not leaving," he said. Wen Ying pulled her hand away, walked to the cupboard beside him, took out 2 small bowls, and calmly served the porridge. She also fried 2 eggs and blanched some lettuce. With dinner ready, Wen Ying was unusually calm. She said patiently, "Let's talk while we eat." Chapter 8. Wen Ying rented this old apartment. The decor wasn't particularly stylish, but it was clean and had good natural light. It wasn't large, a cozy 1-bedroom apartment perfect for her alone. Now, with an extra person, it felt a bit cramped. After some tidying, the small, square wooden dining table could just accommodate 2. Wen Ying and Shen Tuo sat at opposite ends of the table. A warm light poured down from above, illuminating the steaming millet porridge, creating a warm yet unreal atmosphere. Wen Ying sipped her porridge slowly. The intake of energy improved her mood considerably. Shen Tuo blew on his porridge to cool it as he stared at Wen Ying. Under this light, he could finally get a good look at her since yesterday. Her eyes and brows were as gentle as before, her eating habits still slow and deliberate, her long eyelashes fluttering just as adorably. She was also as thin as before. His gaze was always hard to ignore, but this time, Wen Ying remained unperturbed. Without even lifting her eyes, she said calmly, "Didn't you want to have dinner with me after work? Didn't you have something to say to me?" "Shen Tuo, I'm only giving you the time it takes to eat this meal." She asked directly, and he answered directly. He said, "I want to start over with you." Wen Ying paused. "I don't want to." "Do you have a boyfriend? I heard from Su Jiaming that you're single." "That has nothing to do with whether I'm single or not. Why haven't you looked for someone these past few years?" "Haven't met the right person." "Anyway, it's not because of you. The right person." That excuse again. Shen Tuo lowered his eyes, stirring his porridge. He asked her, "What kind of person do you think is right for you?" Wen Ying also remembered their past argument. Her hand holding the spoon froze mid-air, but then she thought they weren't kids anymore, and it was time to clear things up. She said, "Shen Tuo, those reasons I gave back then were just excuses, but didn't I tell you directly later? I chose to break up because you never tried to understand me. During the time we were together, you were your lowest point. I kept trying to understand and tolerate you, but that's not how relationships work. No one is willing to give unconditionally forever." Wen Ying took a deep breath and said as gently as possible, "Back then, you asked me if my affection could only last a few months." My response was harsh. That answer wasn't true. I said out of anger. Because I really liked you back then. From freshman year, I really liked you. But you said that about me. You didn't understand my personal hobbies, nor did you understand my feelings for you. It was hurtful, but it was a lie. You are good, very good. At least you brightened my entire youth. Wen Ying put down her bowl and spoon, sat up straight, and looked at Shen Tuo with clear and pure eyes. She continued, "Look at you. You're still as spirited as before. I heard your team won the championship recently. Congratulations, Shen Tuo. You finally got what you wanted. Someone like you has always been popular, and you'll find someone you truly like. As for me, as for our short relationship, let's not dwell on it anymore. Maybe you're just a little bit unwilling to have been dumped, a little bit of hindsight frustration, maybe even a little bit of guilt towards me. But that's life. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less." If he hadn't said those words back then, if he had been as persistent as he was now in pursuing her, realizing his mistakes, maybe she would have been willing to give him a chance to start over. But no one could go back. Back then, they were young and impulsive. Misunderstandings, harsh words, and self-righteousness were all common. Wen Ying smiled, like the closing remarks of some romantic drama, and said sincerely, "Putting all that aside, if you're eating this meal with me as an old friend, I'd be more comfortable. If your stomach wasn't upset, I could have a beer with you to celebrate your success. Honestly, I'm genuinely happy for you." This series of words was extremely graceful and generous. But Shen Tuo's eyes didn't waver or change. Looking at Wen Ying's smiling face, he was even more certain that he still liked her, only her. He had always only liked her. He slowly drank a few mouthfuls of millet porridge and asked the same question. "What kind of person do you think is right for you?" His tone was natural, but without the previous pressure. Wen Ying guessed he must have taken her words to heart. She didn't want to ruin the friendly atmosphere, so she thought carefully and replied, "There's no standard answer, but I hope my future partner can focus 2/3 of their attention on me. Be gentle and considerate. It's good to be together, talking and laughing, simple and easy." "Is that so?" he said cryptically. Wen Ying was still smiling. "Yes, that's it." Neither of them spoke after that, finishing their meal in silence. Shen Tuo's complexion had improved, but to Wen Ying, he still seemed tired and weak. She cleared the dishes and poured him a glass of warm water. "Are you really okay? It's still early. If you're really uncomfortable, you should go to the hospital. Isn't Shen Yu here? He can go with you. It's fine. I'm used to it after these years." Wen Ying could imagine his busyness and how he put everything on the line when he was striving for something, but she shouldn't say too much. She nodded. "Then drink some water. I'll wash the dishes and walk you downstairs." These words were to urge him to leave. Shen Tuo didn't insist on staying. Listening to the sound of running water from the kitchen, he drank a glass of water with unusual tranquility. Simply and easily, drinking water was just drinking water. While drinking, he glanced around the apartment. Wen Ying kept it spotless. On the wall hung photos of her and the children she taught. There were a few cat plushies piled on the sofa and a few dead pothose plants in the corner. The understanding he had finally pieced together seemed to have gaps again. Shen Tuo tapped his finger on the glass, withdrew his gaze, and took the glass to the kitchen. Wen Ying had just finished washing the pot and spatula. The bowls and chopsticks in the sink were untouched. Shen Tuo rinsed his glass and naturally took the cleaning sponge from her hand. "Wen Ying, Shen, I'll do it. Shen Tuo, I'll do it." His expression was calm, and his voice was soft due to his stomach discomfort, sounding strangely gentle in this snowy night. Two people squeezed together in the small kitchen, vying to wash dishes, adding a touch of awkwardness. Wen Ying rinsed her hands and went to rummage through the refrigerator uneasily. A few minutes later, the dishes were finally done. Wen Ying regained her smile and said lightly, "Let's go, I'll walk you downstairs. The elevator in the building is broken recently, so you'll have to bear with the stairs like you did earlier." Shen Tuo pulled out a few paper towels to dry his hands. He picked up his down jacket from the sofa and said, "Let's go." As they walked down the dark stairwell, the sensor lights lit up floor by floor. Shen Tuo casually asked, "Do you like cats? You have 3 cat plushies on your sofa, yellow, black, and white. I've seen someone post a picture of the black one on their WeChat moments." Wen Ying realized, "I've liked them quite a bit these past 2 years. I'm thinking of getting one after the new year, if my family agrees." Shen Tuo knew she was from Beicheng. He continued to ask, "Why don't you live with your parents? Why rent an apartment? It's close to work, and living separately also reduces conflict." Shen Tuo nodded slightly, returning to the previous topic. "What kind of cat do you want to get?" Wen Ying said, "Any kind is fine, depends on the connection." "Shen Tuo, I heard you can't have pothose plants if you have a cat." Wen Ying thought of the pothose that hadn't survived 3 months on her balcony and chuckled. "I won't have any plants anymore. I don't have a green thumb. I definitely won't have any once I have a kitten." Their footsteps overlapped, round and round, and they reached the bottom floor quickly amidst their small talk. Pushing open the old green iron gate, the biting cold wind swept in, ruffling their breath. Wen Ying, having said everything she needed to say tonight, looked exceptionally peaceful. She sincerely bid farewell to Shen Tuo. "The path in the complex is dark. Be careful. Take care of yourself, too. Shen Tuo, goodbye." Shen Tuo stood backlit by the eaves, his features obscured. Wen Ying couldn't see his face clearly. She only knew he was also looking at her. He didn't react for a long time, lost in thought. After a long while, he suddenly walked up to her, cupped the back of her head, and lowered his head to kiss her forehead. He said, "Go up. It's cold." Wen Ying froze on the spot. She looked up in disbelief, her throat choked by the cold wind, her voice hoarse. Back then, when he walked her back to her dorm, he gave her the same kiss and said the same words. Wen Ying trembled, distanced herself from him, the smile on her face gone. She asked him, "What do you mean?" Shen Tuo's gaze traveled downwards, lingering on her lips for a moment before slowly meeting her eyes again. The night made his eyes shine brightly, the words determined to win, practically leaping out. He said, word by word, resolutely, "I only like you, and I only want to be liked by you." I said, "I won't let you go this time." So, everything she said tonight was in vain? Then what was he pretending to be just now? Wen Ying's face turned slightly green with anger. She refused to say another word to him and turned to leave. The green iron gate creaked as it was pushed open. The more Wen Ying thought about it, the angrier she became. Before completely entering the building, she turned back and yelled, "Shen Tuo, you bastard!" Bang! The iron gate slammed shut. Chapter 9. Another sleepless night. As the sky began to lighten, a restless Wen Ying glanced at her phone, sighed deeply, and got out of bed. She draped a cashmere blanket around herself, shuffled to the window, and peeked out through a small gap she made with her index finger in the curtains. Thick snow, reflecting the gray-white of the sky, covered the ground. No one was below. She breathed a sigh of relief. Pulling open the curtains completely, she pushed open the window. The influx of cold air soothed the agitation in her heart. She leaned sideways against the window frame, staring absent-mindedly at the snowy scene. Had she been dreaming these past 2 days? How could things have developed like this? She touched her forehead. The sensation of that kiss seemed to linger, warm with a hint of coolness. Sigh. Wen Ying closed the window, composed herself, and decided to take advantage of the pre-dawn hours to go back home and hide out for a couple of days. She also happened to have these 2 days off. She left decisively, afraid that Shen Tuo would reappear downstairs the next second. Back at her parents' home in another district of Beicheng, she entered the password and pushed open the door. Her mother and father, who were having breakfast, stared at her in surprise. "Well, isn't this a rare sight? The sun must be rising in the west. Why are you back so early?" her father said cheerfully. Her mother glanced at her husband and said to Wen Ying, "Have you had breakfast? There's still some warm red bean buns in the pot." Wen Ying replied listlessly, "Not yet. Soon." Her mother brought her a glass of warm milk and a plump red bean bun. She looked at her daughter, asking softly, "What's wrong? Something on your mind? Are you unhappy at work again?" Realizing that her emotions were too obvious, Wen Ying forced a smile. No, it's just. Her mind racing. Wen Ying seized the opportunity. It's just that I feel a little lonely living alone. I've been thinking, and I really want to get a cat. Mom, I want to get one. The mention of a pet extinguished her mother's tenderness. Her face hardened, and she said ruthlessly, "What pet? You can barely take care of yourself. Pets are dirty, and they carry germs. If you get one, don't come back. You can treat it as your mother." Having said this, her mother took the opportunity to urge her, "If you feel lonely, you should focus on your lifelong happiness. You keep rejecting this one and that one. If they were all undesirable, that would be one thing, but the ones I find for you are all outstanding. I just don't know what kind you want." Wen Ying was speechless. After a pause, she quickly finished her breakfast and escaped back to her room to catch up on sleep. She lay down on the soft, fluffy bed, opened the drawer of her nightstand, and took out a chocolate, a mixed nut chocolate with a rich flavor. The sweetness temporarily masked her worries, and Wen Ying slept soundly for 2 days. At Beijing Airport, the flight to Haicheng was about to take off. A flight attendant smiled and reminded passengers to turn off their phones. Shen Tuo nodded in acknowledgement and said to Chen Yu on the other end of the line, "I'm going back to deal with some things first. Keep an eye out for an apartment for me. If you find a suitable one, just rent it directly. I'll treat you to dinner when I get back. The flight is about to take off, gotta go." Chen Yu, "Hey, wait, hello? Hello? You arrogant jerk." Hanging up the phone, Chen Yu spun his phone, chuckled, and muttered to himself, "I've become a matchmaker for the two of you." Su Jiaming, who was playing with Lego bricks beside him, asked, "Uncle, is that Uncle Shun pursuing Teacher Wen?" Chen Yu raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, you even know that?" Su Jiaming, "That day, Uncle Shun gave me a ride home and asked me a lot about Teacher Wen. He said he had done a lot of wrong things before, so Teacher Wen left in anger, and now he wants to win her back. You didn't embellish anything, did you? Did he really say such mushy things?" "No, that's what Uncle Shun said. I even told him to keep it up." "Uncle, has Uncle Shun succeeded?" "Not yet. It's not that simple." "That's true." Teacher Wen's smile that day looked really forced. Su Jiaming pouted. "We women are very hard to coax when we're angry." Chen Yu, such a wise little guy. After their banter, Chen Yu grabbed the car keys from the coffee table and shouted toward the bedroom, "Sis, can I borrow your car? I'm going out to run some errands." A week later, Shen Tuo returned from Haicheng. Chen Yu picked him up at the airport. Shen Tuo fell asleep as soon as he got in the car. He woke up wearily as they approached their destination, rubbing his temples and asking Chen Yu where they were. Chen Yu chewed his gum. "Almost at your love nest." Shen Tuo's gaze paused, a hint of speechlessness in his eyes. Chen Yu laughed. "I asked several friends and contacted countless agents to get this. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. So, I expect a big dinner later." Shen Tuo had a bad feeling. "Really? You'll see. But, did your parents have any objections to you moving here like this? Are their opinions important?" Chen Yu clicked his tongue and didn't pursue the topic, but it was clear that it would eventually lead to an argument. He and Shen Tuo had known each other since they were 15 or 16. Back then, he was attending high school in Beijing, and Shen Tuo was studying in Haicheng. They met online through gaming. He was truly impressed by Shen Tuo's skills, rising 2 ranks in just 6 months of playing together. Later, by coincidence, they ended up at the same university. Meeting his online brother in person was incredibly exciting, even if the guy always had a cold expression. Later, as they spent more time together, he gradually learned about Shen Tuo's true identity and family situation. In layman's terms, a rich second-generation esports player with strict and controlling parents who interfered too much, thus fostering this arrogant and aloof personality. Chen Yu also knew that this guy was extremely starved for love. He had once commented on this, "You're really a pitiful yet enviable guy." Shen Tuo had responded with an icy glare. After so many years, Chen Yu still thought he was a pitiful yet enviable guy. But still, he wished him success. Chen Yu hummed a tune, turned the steering wheel, and drove into Wen Ying's old residential complex, stopping the car steadily downstairs from her building. Chen Yu said, "Here we are." Go up and take a look. It's all cleaned up, ready for you to move right in. The two of them went up to the 6th floor and stopped in front of the apartment opposite Wen Ying's. Shen Tuo took out the key and opened the door, saying proudly, "How about it? Awesome, right? I got you the place right across from Wen Ying. Proximity breeds love." Shen Tuo stepped inside. The musty smell of dampness hit him. He raised an eyebrow, saying coldly, "Guaranteed satisfaction. Move in ready? Don't be so picky. Could I have renovated the place for you in just a few days? You tell me, is living across from Wen Ying more important or living comfortably more important? Besides, living in a slightly worse place might make her sympathize with you more." With that, Chen Yu patted the peeling, mottled sofa, and dust danced in the air. Shen Tuo laughed, a laugh born of exasperation. Chen Yu pushed his luggage into the bedroom. "Stop complaining. I spent a lot of money to get this place. Remember to transfer the money to me later." Shen Tuo looked around, noticing that the bedding in the bedroom looked decent and felt slightly better. Chen Yu jiggled the suitcase. "Are you really planning on staying long-term? You brought so much stuff, it's so heavy. What about your work in Haicheng? Don't you want your company anymore?" Shen Tuo steadied the suitcase that was being shaken by Chen Yu, subtly moving it aside. He offered Chen Yu a cigarette, then tapped his cigarette pack and took one for himself. The two leaned against the balcony, smoking. Shen Tuo said, "I took care of most things last week. I can handle things online. If there's a real emergency, I can go back to Haicheng. It's only a 2.5-hour flight, not far. What about Wen Ying? Are you confident?" "No." Shen Tuo held his cigarette, turned his head, and exhaled a puff of smoke. His pupils met the setting sun, squinting for a moment before refocusing. He shifted his gaze and happened to catch sight of a familiar figure downstairs. Chen Yu saw her too. Wen Ying was wearing a white wool coat with fur trim, a dark blue scarf, and carrying several bags in her arms. Her steps labored. Chen Yu asked curiously, "It's only a little after 4. Is she off work already?" Shen Tuo flicked his cigarette ash, giving Chen Yu a look that suggested he was an idiot. "Today is New Year's Day, a holiday. She probably just got back from her parents' place. Otherwise, she wouldn't be carrying such tacky bags." "Chen Yu? Oh. Hey, where are you going?" Shen Tuo stubbed out his cigarette and walked straight out the door, replying calmly, to help her carry her things. "The elevator is still broken." Wen Ying, who had just let her guard down after not seeing Shen Tuo for a week, heard footsteps coming from upstairs. Footsteps that were undeniably familiar. She held her breath, looked up, and sure enough, the next second, Shen Tuo appeared in her line of sight. He walked up to her and took the bag from her hands as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "They look heavy. I'll help you carry them upstairs." Wen Ying stared at him without moving. Shen Tuo knew his appearance was sudden. He said, "What I said last time wasn't a joke, and it wasn't a whim. I didn't come looking for you these past few days because I went back to Haicheng to take care of some things." He hadn't had a good night's sleep for a week, and his voice was low and husky, with a hint of patient gentleness. Wen Ying tried to grab her things back, saying coldly, "You don't need to tell me about your affairs. I made myself very clear about last time. We're long over. I don't want this." Shen Tuo moved the bags he was holding further back, and with his other hand, he grabbed Wen Ying's hand and held it tight. He said softly, "You can be unwilling, you can reject me, but I can't not give myself a chance." He didn't grip her hand too tightly, as if intentionally giving her a chance to break free. Wen Ying pulled her hand away, changing the subject. "Give me my things back. I don't need your help. Then consider me passing by." "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer her, carrying her things and walking upstairs on his own. Wen Ying followed behind him. Reaching the 6th floor, Wen Ying saw the open door opposite hers and Chen Yu leaning against the doorframe. She understood everything in an instant, but she still asked, unwilling to give up, "You didn't move in here, did you?" Shen Tuo said yes. Wen Ying took 2 steps back, fumbled with her keys, pulled the bags filled with groceries into her apartment, and quickly slammed the door shut. Another bang. Chen Yu folded his arms and commented, "It seems she doesn't just dislike you a little. Maybe I should help you change the lease from 1 year to 10. Shen Tuo looked back and said expressionlessly, "You can go now. I need to rest." Chapter 10. That evening, Wen Ying started looking at apartments online, scouring almost every listing within a 5-kilometer radius of her workplace. However, with the Lunar New Year approaching, available apartments were scarce, and finding one she liked proved difficult. After calming down, she exited the rental app, realizing that moving wouldn't solve anything. Would she really change jobs for him? Absolutely not. The next day, Wen Ying left for work with extreme caution, afraid the sound of the opening door would be heard by Shen Tuo. She escaped the complex like a thief, breathing a sigh of relief. That evening, fearing Shen Tuo might be waiting for her at the door, she deliberately ate dinner out before returning. The doorway was quiet. Nothing had happened. This cycle repeated itself. The scenarios Wen Ying imagined never occurred. Her guard began to lower again, and she even grew a little curious about Shen Tuo's recent activities. A few days later, the temperature dropped again. Wen Ying didn't want to linger outside after work, so she took a gamble and returned home at her usual time. As she reached the bottom of the stairs, a group of people were repairing the elevator, surrounded by elderly women from the building who were berating them. "We told you on the first day it broke, but no one came to fix it. You have no heart." Exactly. You can't just ignore it because the complex is old. There are so many elderly people living here. The repairmen kept explaining that they were only following orders and weren't the property managers. One of the women said, "I think you're just greedy for money. If it weren't for the young man on the 6th floor paying you out of his own pocket, would you have come?" Repairman, "Auntie, we really aren't the property management. They called us. We only make 200 yuan a day." Wen Ying tightened her scarf and glanced back. The young man on the 6th floor? Shen Tuo. Was this all he'd been busy with since moving in? Wen Ying held the railing, pondering this as she slowly walked upstairs. Wen Ying held the railing, pondering this as she slowly walked upstairs. The motion sensor light between the 5th and 6th floors activated, and she saw Shen Tuo sitting on the landing. The days she hadn't seen him had been filled with anxiety, but now that she saw him, the weight on her heart lifted. Wen Ying stopped, looking up at him. "Are you waiting for me?" Shen Tuo hummed an affirmation, raising an eyebrow slightly. He got straight to the point. "I picked up a cat. Do you want it?" Wen Ying had received enough surprises lately, but she was still taken aback by his words. "A cat." Wen Ying's gaze shifted to his right hand. Beside him was a worn milk carton, and a small white kitten's head, about the size of a fist, poked curiously out. The kitten, excessively lively, scrambled with its tiny paws, trying to escape the carton, but Shen Tuo gently pushed it back down. "Meow." Wen Ying recalled the day he asked her about cats. Slightly annoyed, she asked, "Did you really pick it up? Or are you using a small animal to try and win me over?" Shen Tuo lifted the kitten out of the box, cradling it gently, and said in a low voice, "I really picked it up. That night, after dinner with Chun Yu, I heard a meow under his car. It was this one. It was very dirty and had blood on it. So I took it to the pet hospital. It just got discharged today, and since you said you wanted a cat, I brought it back." Wen Ying looked at it appraisingly. Indeed, the tiny white cat had unhealed scars around its eyes and legs. Shen Tuo looked at her. "Do you want it? If not, I'll figure something out." "Wen Ying, figure something out?" "Yes." "What will you do?" "I haven't thought about it yet." Looking at the incessantly mewing kitten, Wen Ying's heart melted. She walked over to Shen Tuo and sat down beside him, next to the kitten. She extended her hands. "Let me see it." Supporting the kitten's flailing legs, Shen Tuo placed it in Wen Ying's palms. "Be careful, its claws are sharp," he said. Stroking the fluffy ball of fur, Wen Ying discreetly glanced at his hand. Several scratches on the back of his hand were very noticeable. She didn't respond to his warning, pretending not to see them, focusing all her attention on the kitten. A pure white odd-eyed cat, considered noble and rare by humans, but seen by other cats as low status and easy to bully. No wonder it was covered in injuries. The kitten scrambled up Wen Ying's arm and finally settled in her lap, lifting its tiny legs and languidly licking its fur. Wen Ying wanted to touch it, but didn't dare, afraid of disturbing its contentment. Shen Tuo rested his hands on his legs, fingers loosely interlaced, staring at Wen Ying's profile. Her eyes were bright and sparkling, as gentle as moonlight. He asked, "Do you want to keep it?" "I do, but my family won't agree. My mom hates small animals. She sometimes comes over to cook and clean for me. If she sees it, it'll be a disaster." Shen Tuo pondered for a moment. "If you really like it, I'll keep it for you." Wen Ying froze. His implication was clear. Perhaps the initial rush of emotions had passed. Perhaps it was because he hadn't done anything objectionable lately, or perhaps it was simply because the kitten was so pitiful. Wen Ying reverted to her previous gentle and agreeable self. "Don't do this, Shen Tuo," she said. "You know that if we keep this cat, there will be more ties between us. Don't do this. There's no need. But this is exactly what I want. Why shouldn't I? I'm saying, don't waste your time on me. I know this apartment you're living in. It used to be rented by a middle-aged couple who came here to work. They rented this place because it's cheap, so it's relatively basic. You won't be comfortable here. And we won't have a future. I don't like you anymore." Click. The moment Wen Ying finished speaking, the motion sensor light went out. The thick darkness of the winter night enveloped them. With sight gone, hearing became more acute. Wen Ying heard Shen Tuo's slow, deep breaths. He seemed to be thinking, silent for a long time. Wen Ying pressed her advantage. "You don't really still like me either. You just haven't moved on from how you felt back then." "Wen Ying." He said her name, his voice as low and cool as ever, but now inexplicably tinged with a deeper huskiness. He said, "I don't think you understand me very well. At least, you don't know how I feel about relationships." Wen Ying faltered for a moment, her throat feeling constricted. Shen Tuo leaned closer, using the faint starlight from the hallway window to find the kitten, stroking it absently. He said, "You always talk about all these years. It has been a long time. I don't expect you to still like me the way you did before. You might even hate me, despise me, and that would be understandable. Back then, I really wasn't a good boyfriend. You were right last time, so I didn't argue with you at all. But I'm certain that I like you. I like you a lot before, and I still like you a lot now. That feeling of my blood boiling, I only feel it for you. Shen Tuo, Shen Tuo, I don't care how you feel about me right now. I have plenty of time. I can prove to you that my affection has no end." That day I drove Su Jiming home. I asked her about your relationship status. I was actually a little uneasy, afraid you really had a boyfriend, afraid you were already married. But luckily you weren't. But even if you were, it wouldn't matter. I'm not a very moral person. Like I said, I have time. He was very close. His familiar mint scent, like him, was overwhelmingly present. Wen Ying's heart pounded. She turned her head, creating some distance. "Stop talking." The more he said, the more outrageous it became. Shen Tuo pinched the kitten's scruff. The kitten rolled over, grabbing his hand with its paws, biting and kicking playfully. His breath hitched, as if remembering something. He added, "I forgot to say, the reason I haven't contacted you these past few days is because there's no internet here. I've been working at a cafe and busy with this little kitten, but now everything's sorted. I told you. You don't need to tell me about your affairs. I want to correct the mistakes I made in the past. Back then, I was too sharp, too self-absorbed. I didn't consider your feelings enough. I took it for granted that once we decided to be together, no matter what, we wouldn't break up. I only thought about how it was my first relationship, and I was inexperienced, forgetting that it was your first time too. I didn't give you a good experience." Thump, thump. Someone downstairs on an unknown floor returned home, their footsteps triggering the motion sensor, and the lights in the entire stairwell came on. The sudden brightness dispelled the atmosphere. Wen Ying looked down at the kitten, then at Shen Tuo. After a few seconds of silence, she said in a tone that betrayed no emotion, "Let's figure out how to settle this cat first." Shen Tuo continued to play with the kitten. "It seems to like you. If you like it too, keep it. I can keep it for you, and you can come and play with it anytime. It's no trouble, Wen Ying. You could take advantage of me. I'm willing." Chapter 11. Before New Year's, Wen Ying was agonizing over whether or not to adopt the kitten. Shen Tuo, as if knowing what she was thinking, went ahead and took it in. When Wen Ying came home from work, she would see packages piled up by his door, large boxes labeled with cat food, cat litter, and once, even a giant cat tree. Occasionally, she would also bump into Shen Tuo, deliberately sitting on the stairs waiting for her. He probably felt cold, leaving his own door open for warmth, holding a pink cat teaser and dangling it back and forth, the kitten pouncing after it. Seeing her, he no longer said those words she didn't know how to respond to. All conversation revolved around the kitten. He said the kitten's scars were almost healed, that the kitten slept on his neck at night, that the kitten was picky and only ate canned food, and also that their kitten didn't have a name yet, and what would be a good one? Like a frog slowly boiling in warm water, gradually, Wen Ying lost her resistance. By the time she realized it, the kitten had taken root in her life. Her phone's photo album was filled with its lively and playful figure. On New Year's Eve, the institution officially closed for the holidays. Wen Ying's mother sent a message saying that the homemade sausages and cured meats were ready, and as soon as Wen Ying got home, they would start making her favorite fried fish nuggets. The streets and alleys were already plastered with bright red, Happy New Year signs. Wen Ying was in a cheerful mood, but the moment she stepped into the building, she remembered the cute and pitiful kitten. Shen Tuo was supposed to go back to Haicheng, so the kitten. Lost in thought, she decided to talk to Shen Tuo later about the kitten's arrangements for the new year. Once again, Shen Tuo had anticipated her. He was sitting on the stairs, holding the cat and trimming its nails, waiting for her. He had probably just showered, dressed extremely simply in a white t-shirt and a black down jacket. The clothes were loose, and the skin exposed at his neck was damp, as if moisture was evaporating. For not too far away, Wen Ying could smell the pleasant scent emanating from him, like the lemonade he used to like, with plenty of ice, gently stirred, the mint leaves floating on top swirling around, releasing a faint, refreshing fragrance. Wen Ying stopped in her tracks, inexplicably recalling some intimate moments from when they were together. Hearing footsteps, Shen Tuo lifted his eyelids, a flicker of change in his dark, deep eyes. "You're back," he said. Wen Ying came back to her senses and hummed in response. "Shen Tuo, are you going back to your parents' house tonight?" "Yes, I'll pack up in a bit and go." "When will you be back?" Wen Ying walked forward and sat on the floor beside him, just like before. She took the cat and nail clippers from his arms and continued clipping. "Click, click," she said. "To clip a cat's nails, you can hold its paw, and then its claws will come out." Probably the 8th day of the new year. What about you?" Shen Tuo's eyebrows rose slightly, a little surprised that Wen Ying would take the initiative to ask about him. "I'm not going back. You don't have to worry about the cat." Wen Ying glanced at him. "You're not going back?" Shen Tuo fiddled with a catnip toy and said casually, "No, I've been in Haicheng for the past few years, and I've always been alone during New Year's. It's the same wherever I am." "Then, your family. Seeing them just means arguing, so it's better not to see them." Wen Ying understood generally and didn't ask further. "Then I'll leave the kitten to you. I plan to have a good talk with my parents when I get back. After the new year, I plan to officially adopt it." "All right, what about the name? Have you thought of one?" Wen Ying scratched the cat's chin and chuckled softly. "Let's call it Chushi." "Chushi. Good, Chushi." Shen Tuo leaned in, teasing the cat with a small toy. As he got closer, that cool scent drifted over. Wen Ying peeked at him, catching sight of the skin on the side of his neck, from his earlobe to the depths of his collar, tinged with a faint pink. This formed a stark contrast to his icy voice, like molten lava flowing beneath an iceberg. Wen Ying, for no reason, recalled some ambiguous scenes from the past again. Like her heart was suddenly bitten by a beast, she abruptly stood up, shoving Chushi back into his arms. Patting the cat hair off herself, Wen Ying said, "I'll trouble you with Chushi for this new year. After the new year, when it moves, I'll give you all its expenses." After saying that, she fumbled for her keys to open the door. Shen Tuo got up as well, gently stopping her hand on the doorknob. "Why don't we add each other on WeChat? I can take videos of Chushi for you every day." It's a trap. Wen Ying knew it deep down. This cat, from the beginning, was a trap, and every step up to now was a trap. But she still fell into it. Wen Ying silently handed Shen Tuo her QR code. After he scanned it, Wen Ying quickly entered her apartment. Closing the door, Wen Ying stood still. The apartment was pitch black, only the phone screen glowed. On the light source, Shen Tuo's friend request was particularly conspicuous. His WeChat profile picture and name were still the same as before. Wen Ying's eyebrows twitched. She took a deep breath and clicked accept. This new year was no different from previous years. Visiting relatives, paying New Year's greetings, eating reunion dinner, playing with her cousin's children, and watching the Spring Festival Gala with the family while setting off fireworks. Filling the gaps between these activities were Shen Tuo's messages. He said, "Good morning and good night." He said Chushi caught a small bug. He said Chushi wasn't afraid of the sound of fireworks and firecrackers. He said Happy New Year. The clock struck midnight, ushering in the new year. Wen Ying stared at the Happy New Year message for a long time. A little sour, a little melancholy, and a little at a loss. On the morning of the 8th day, Wen Ying went directly to work from her parents' house. After getting off work and returning home, she sent Shen Tuo a message, asking if he was free now, as she wanted to pick up Chushi. Shen Tuo said yes, and asked her to wait a moment. Wen Ying went directly to his door and waited for less than 3 minutes. The moment he opened the door, the spicy aroma of hot pot wafted out. Wen Ying didn't pay much attention, only asking, "Where's Chushi?" Shen Tuo, playing with them. He turned sideways, revealing the view. Inside the bare apartment, a marble-style dining table was placed in the center, surrounded by a circle of people. The butter hot pot in the middle was steaming, and Chushi was strolling freely on the table, randomly bestowing its favor on a human. Wen Ying and they stared at each other. Shen Tuo lowered his voice. "They're from the club. They came to have dinner with me. Do you want to come in? Or should I bring Chushi's things over?" Wen Ying, I won't go in. Okay, wait for me here." As if remembering something, Shen Tuo looked back. "Did your parents agree?" They agreed. "Good." Wen Ying waited at the door, watching Shen Tuo bring out a litter box, then a few bags of different brands of cat food, and then a bag of cat toys. The burning gazes from inside made Wen Ying extremely uncomfortable. Just as she was about to pick up the cat food and carry it into her apartment, those people all stood up and swarmed towards her, grabbing the cat supplies. The round-faced boy at the front said, Sister, we'll help you carry them." Wen Ying declined. No need. I could do it myself. It's okay, we'll do it. Yes, let us." Without giving Wen Ying a chance to refuse, they were like lemmings lining up in a cartoon, each one very obediently carrying things into her apartment, piling them up in the entryway, then filing out one by one, eyes straight ahead. Shen Tuo came out holding Chushi, affectionately squeezing the back of its neck, and handed it to Wen Ying. "Let me know if you need anything. I have a lot of time and can help you with Chushi." How much?" "I'll transfer it to you. I won't accept it. If you feel bad about this, then let me see Chushi sometimes." Wen Ying couldn't ignore the various gazes behind him. She hugged Chushi tightly. "We'll talk later. You go ahead and do your thing." She turned and went back inside. She vaguely heard some discussion from that side. "Is that her? She's so pretty. She must be the Y in the team name." Finally seeing her in person, Wen Ying closed the door, shutting out the sound. She stroked Chushi in her arms and murmured to herself, "Mommy also bought you a lot of food and things. Now let's set up a new nest for little Chushi." Wen Ying organized the items from Shen Tuo's place while occasionally glancing at Chushi. This place was completely unfamiliar to the kitten, but perhaps because it carried her scent, Chushi wasn't afraid, its tail held high as it walked around, sniffing here and there. Wen Ying's dream had come true. She was bubbling with happiness. "Rip!" Wen Ying cut open a large cardboard box sealed with transparent tape. The sweet smell of chocolate filled the air. Wen Ying found it strange. Cats can't eat chocolate, so why would there be something that smelled like chocolate? Could chocolate-flavored cat litter be a new trend? She lifted the thin film covering the top. It wasn't cat supplies, but various brands of chocolate for human consumption, both domestic and foreign, each in small boxes. Wen Ying guessed what it was, but still sent Shen Tuo a message. A box of chocolate was mixed in by mistake. "Come and get it." The reply came quickly. It's for you, but half of it is expired. I've labeled them. Don't eat them by mistake. Wen Ying, what do you mean? Shen Tuo. When I traveled for work these past few years, I would buy a box of famous local chocolate. Some I bought earlier had shorter shelf lives and went bad. Some are close to expiring, and some are still good. Wen Ying didn't know how to reply. Shen Tuo quickly sent another message. Wen Ying, time will prove everything. These are my proof from the past 5 years. Wen Ying turned off her phone and tossed it aside, sighing heavily. Chu Shi, after patrolling the apartment, came to her side, sniffing the chocolate, and hopped into the box to gnaw on the chocolate packaging. Wen Ying was startled, grabbing the kitten and snatching the tattered chocolate from its mouth. Looking at it in her hand, her gaze involuntarily focused on the production date. This chocolate's production date was December 25th, 2019, produced in Beijing. Her first birthday after they broke up. He had been here. Chapter 12. Winter passed, and spring arrived, the ice and snow melting away. A continuous spring rain fell upon the northern city. Wen Ying put that box of chocolates away in the attic, pretending nothing had happened as she continued her repetitive life. But things were different now. In her free time at work, whenever she picked up her phone, she would always find a few unread WeChat messages. Her circle of friends was small. In school, her friends would still chat and joke in the group chat, but after starting work, everyone became increasingly silent. Gradually, her WeChat messages were almost all advertisements. Besides her parents, Shen Tuo seemed to be the only living person in her WeChat contacts these days. He was like clockwork, sending a morning after waking up every day and a good night before going to sleep. In between were snippets of his daily life. Just finished a meeting, leaving the northern city in a few days. He reported everything in detail. Wen Ying rarely replied, except when he mentioned wanting to see Chu Shi during the spring festival. He didn't see Chu Shi often, controlling the intervals just right. Over time, Wen Ying became accustomed to his presence. One day, Wen Ying was playing with her cat at home and captured an incredibly cute moment of Chu Shi. She wanted to share it with someone, and the first person who came to mind was Shen Tuo. Her hand was faster than her brain. By the time she realized something was amiss, the photo had already been sent. Shen Tuo replied instantly, saying Chu Shi had grown again. Wen Ying collapsed onto the sofa, her fingers tapping away at her phone. In the end, she left Shen Tuo's message unanswered and opened her university roommate's group chat, which had been silent for over a month. She had been holding back about Shen Tuo for a long time. She typed directly into the group. What's the usual outcome of getting back together with an ex-boyfriend? It was a weekday, and everyone was busy working, but the group chat instantly exploded. Roommate A. Ex-boyfriend? Which ex-boyfriend? Roommate B. Besides that emotionally abusive jerk, does she even have any other ex-boyfriends? Roommate C. Did Shen Tuo ask you to get back together? Wen Ying, pretty much. Roommate A. Is he still as handsome as before? Has his family gone bankrupt? If he's still handsome and rich, you can play along. Roommate B. I suggest getting back together in the summer, so you won't be so hot. Roommate C. Do you still like him? Do you still like him? Wen Ying repeatedly asked herself, do you still like him? She initially thought she really didn't. But if she really didn't like him at all, why did she still get flustered around him like she did when she was a teenager? Wen Ying covered her face, sighing again and again. That night, as she drifted off to sleep, restless and troubled, Wen Ying no longer thought about Shen Tuo's hurtful question from their breakup, but about his repeated insistence on liking her. I like you a lot before, and I still like you a lot now. I'm sure I like you. On the other side of the city, Chun Yu, who had come to deliver dumplings to Shen Tuo, stroked his chin and asked, what are you smiling about? Shen Tuo lifted his eyelids to look at Chun Yu, suppressing the slight smile on his lips, and simply replied, nothing. Chun Yu, skied up. I still have to bring the thermos back to report back. Shen Tuo said, thank your mom for me. Thank her for what? If it weren't for you pulling strings everywhere 2 years ago, my mom wouldn't have had such a smooth surgery. She's been thinking about you. She knows you've been living here lately, eating takeout every day, and she's worried sick. Shen Tuo wasn't very good at handling this kind of familial concern. Even though he was touched deep down, he couldn't organize his words to respond. Shen Yu looked around his apartment, gossiping. How are things progressing with Wen Ying? SOSO. Oh, so there's progress? You're doing all right. What stage are you at? Dinner dates? Movies? Or, she started sending me WeChat messages. She started sending me WeChat messages. Shen Yu's eyes widened. That's all you've accomplished in months. Shen Tuo finished the last bite, wiped his mouth with a tissue, and said calmly, I'm serious about Wen Ying. It just takes time to show my sincerity. Unlike you, Shen Yu, I really have a masochistic streak talking to you. But what do you mean? I haven't been in a relationship for a long time either, okay? My mom even set me up on a blind date recently. Could be my soulmate. Shen Tuo ignored Chen Yu's complaints, carrying the thermos into the kitchen to wash it. 3 days later, at a coffee shop, Chen Yu sat across from Wen Ying, completely speechless. Wen Ying was also extremely embarrassed, lowering her head to sip her coffee. Chen Yu loosened his shirt collar. You're on a blind date. Wen Ying. Yeah, my family arranged it. I didn't expect it to be you. Chen Yu, does Shen Tuo know about this blind date thing? My business has nothing to do with him. Chen Yu let out a meaningful "oh." He took out his phone and sent a message to Shen Tuo. A hot latte quickly disappeared. Wen Ying felt her body heat up, her thoughts tangled like a ball of yarn. She put down her coffee cup and said, If there's nothing else, I'll be going. Shen Yu didn't have time to stop her. Wen Ying grabbed her bag and quickly walked away, leaving only the lingering sound of the bell at the coffee shop door. The spring weather was beautiful. Wen Ying wandered around the streets, round and round. Wen Ying's mother quickly got the news and called. As soon as she answered, she asked, Not satisfied with this one either? Even though he's unemployed right now, he worked in Haicheng for several years and has substantial savings. His family also has a small business in Beicheng. He has a car and a house. And the matchmaker said he even graduated from the same university as you. You don't even want this kind of fate. Wen Ying softly explained, He's an old friend. We know each other quite well. There's no spark, it won't work. Wen's mother. Isn't an old friend even better? You know each other inside and out. Are you going to start brushing me off again? What did you say about getting a cat last time? I agreed to let you get a cat, and you promised to take blind dates seriously. I'm being serious. I really tried to get to know the previous few I went on dates with, but there really wasn't a spark. You child, then tell your mother honestly. What kind of person do you like? If you say you like someone with a mole on there, but I'll pull down everyone's pants to find one. Mom. Wen Ying sat down on a park bench by the road. It's not that exaggerated. Then what kind of feeling are you looking for? I don't know. Wen's mother. I'm going to be angered to death by you. I'll keep looking. Don't you dare make excuses. Keep going on blind dates. Wen Ying. Okay. After hanging up, Wen Ying fiddled with her phone, lost in thought. Ahead was a small park along the road. Willows swaying gently. White doves flocking together. Amidst the tranquility, the image of Shen Tuo appeared in Wen Ying's mind. Faintly, she even smelled the same mint scent as Shen Tuo's. She thought she was hallucinating. She looked down to unlock her phone, wanting to distract herself by browsing some apps. But what she saw was a familiar figure reflected in the dark screen. Wen Ying abruptly turned to look at the person sitting beside her. A black baseball cap, a black windbreaker, black pants, all in stark contrast to that pale, aloof face. Shen Tuo leaned back against the bench, hands casually tucked into his outer pockets, gazing straight ahead. Noticing Wen Ying's gaze, he asked, You've been out early and back late these past few days. Been on blind dates. That tone, how accusatory. Wen Ying didn't answer but instead asked, Why are you here? He answered honestly, Chen Yu told me. So, have you been on blind dates these past few days? Wen Ying straightened her back slightly. Yes, I promised my mom during the spring festival. Have you met anyone you like? No. Are you going to continue going on blind dates? His gaze shifted towards her, cool and indifferent, but with a hint of caution. Wen Ying nodded. Shen Tuo nodded as well. Then if you do meet someone you like, can you tell me? Wen Ying thought he was planning to back off. Unexpectedly, Shen Tuo added slowly, I want to see what the other person can do compared to me. His eyes were sharp, carrying the sharpness of the past. His tone also like before, arrogant and unrestrained. But rarely, Wen Ying glimpsed a trace of dejection within, just like when she had spoken harshly, saying he was only worth a few months of someone's affection. A gentle breeze blew, scattering some of the restlessness in Wen Ying's heart. She took a deep breath, her nostrils filled with Shen Tuo's pleasant scent. Regarding her mother's questions, she suddenly had a general answer. Perhaps this was the type she liked. But Wen Ying still chose to play dumb. Seasons changed, and the two broke the boundaries in their hearts during the hot summer. In the height of summer vacation, the institute became even busier, and Shen Tuo was also traveling frequently, but his updates never ceased. At the end of July, a rainstorm suddenly hit. Wen Ying, after seeing the children off, stood under the building for an hour, but couldn't hail a cab. The rainwater kept accumulating, as if it was going to submerge the entire city. Married colleagues were gradually picked up by their families. Wen Ying hesitated about whether to send a message to her father, but neither of her parents could drive. How would they come and how would they go back? Wen Ying returned to the dance classroom, taking advantage of the air conditioning and Wi-Fi, praying silently for the rain to lessen. As she was making a video for Chu Shi, a WeChat message popped up. She didn't even need to think to know who it was. She clicked on it. Shen Tuo asked, "I just got back, and I see your lights are off. Are you out having dinner with friends?" Since the blind date incident, he seemed particularly sensitive to her coming home late, even though she had told him, almost against her will, that she wouldn't be going on any more blind dates for the time being. Wen Ying poked the screen, replying, "The rain is too heavy. Can't get a cab. We'll be back later. Shen Tuo, I'm coming over now." Wen Ying hesitated, saying, "No need." Shen Tuo didn't reply. She guessed he was probably getting ready to leave. He was like this, a bit domineering, a bit selfish. He said he would change, but how could the things in one's bones be changed? But hadn't he also changed a little? Half an hour later, Shen Tuo appeared at the bottom of the building. Wen Ying saw him from afar. He held a black umbrella, wading through the rainwater, striding towards her. Wen Ying stared at his completely soaked shoes and pants, wanting to say something but stopping herself. He didn't say much, directly placing the umbrella in her hand, telling her to hold it. Then he said, "I'll carry you over." Up. Her body lifted into the air. Wen Ying subconsciously wrapped her arms around his neck. Reaching the car, he nudged the not fully closed car door open with his foot and bent down to place Wen Ying inside. Wen Ying gripped the wet umbrella, watching him jog to the other side to open the door and sit in. The driver started the meter and stepped on the gas, the car plunging into the water and speeding away. Shen Tuo ran his fingers through his wet hair and noticed Wen Ying kept looking at him. He turned to look at her as well. "What's wrong?" he asked. Wen Ying shook her head. Back at their apartment building, the two jogged to the elevator. The summer night was humid and sticky. Being drenched in the rain made her whole body uncomfortable. The old elevator had no air conditioning, only a later installed fan, which blew out stuffy, hot air. Wen Ying watched the floor numbers rise, wanting to put an end to this day. She said, "Thank you for coming all the way here. You should take a quick shower later. Don't catch a cold. The flu's been going around lately. A lot of the kids in my class have caught it." Shen Tuo said okay. Arriving at their respective doors, Shen Tuo felt his pockets, but didn't find his keys. "Wen Ying, you didn't bring your keys when you left?" Shen Tuo thought for a moment. "I must have left in a hurry and forgotten them. I'll call someone to open the lock, and might as well change it to a combination lock." Wen Ying's grip on the doorknob tightened. Looking into Shen Tuo's dark eyes, after some internal struggle, she said, "Come to my place first. It'll take some time for the locksmith to get here, especially with the heavy rain. It'll be even slower." Shen Tuo said in a low voice, "All right." This was his second time entering Wen Ying's apartment. Compared to last time, there wasn't much difference, except for the addition of a cat. As soon as he entered, Chu Shi stretched and walked over, rubbing affectionately against their legs. Shen Tuo picked him up, holding him by his paws and weighing him. "He's grown again." Wen Ying tidied up a bit and, finding a moment, replied, "Animals are like that. They grow up fast." stuffing the pile of clothes from the bathroom into the washing machine. Wen Ying brushed her hair from her forehead and said as calmly as possible, "Did you call the locksmith? I have a set of my dad's clothes here. Do you want to wash up first?" Shen Tuo gave her a searching look, his eyes lingering on her for a long time, before nodding in agreement. Soon, the sound of running water came from the small bathroom. Wen Ying held Chu Shi, leaning against the window, feeling uneasy. She asked Chu Shi, "Did Mommy kind of lead a wolf into the house? Is Mommy being a pushover?" Chu Shi was completely focused on the trickling water on the window pane. 15 minutes later, the water stopped and the door opened. Both the person and the cat turned to look. Shen Tuo was wearing a dark blue checkered pajama set. It was long-sleeved, but he probably felt hot, so he had rolled the sleeves up to his forearms, leaving one button undone, revealing glimpses of his skin as he washed his hands. The middle-aged clothing looked surprisingly youthful on him. Shen Tuo slowly rinsed the soap from his hands, watching Wen Ying from the mirror. He asked her, "Do you want to take a shower too? I'll wait a bit." The locksmith said it'll take 2 hours to get here, and the rain outside is too heavy. Then let's wait for him to arrive. What are we having for dinner? There are dumplings my mom made in the fridge. Want some? Yes. Wen Ying put Chu Shi down. Then I'll cook some. Shen Tuo walked over and took her wrist. I'll do it. Your hair's wet. Go take a shower so you can eat comfortably afterward. Wen Ying was stunned, taking her pajamas and entering the bathroom. After showering and coming out, she was drying her hair when a strange question suddenly popped in her head. This was her house. How was he more at ease than she was? She stood in front of the sink, preparing to blow-dry her hair. Shen Tuo watched her for a while, then silently stepped forward, stood behind her, and naturally took the hairdryer from her hand. "I'll help you dry it." It was a question, but he had already started. The hairdryer buzzed, and Wen Ying's mind buzzed along with it. She stared at the two of them, so close together in the mirror, listening to the terrifying sound of the rain outside, a subtle feeling blooming in her heart. Shen Tuo still had that indifferent face, but his eyes were filled with gentleness and care. "What have you been doing these days?" he asked. "Nothing much," Wen Ying replied. "Been on blind dates." "No, really not going on any more blind dates." He turned off the hairdryer. The noise stopped, but Wen Ying's heartbeat didn't. Shen Tuo leaned in from behind, placing his hands on the sink, his chin resting on Wen Ying's shoulder. He stared intently at Wen Ying in the mirror, his voice husky. "Then can you take a look at me, consider me?" Wen Ying remained silent. He leaned in closer, almost close enough to kiss her ear. "Do you really? Not like me at all anymore." He was like a snake that had been lying dormant for a long time, danger signals flashing. Wen Ying held her breath, almost suffocating. She knew it. Today was indeed letting a wolf into the house. As she was caught in a dilemma, Shen Tuo tilted her chin up, forcing eye contact. Their breaths mingled, rationality teetering on the edge. Wen Ying's lips parted slightly, murmuring his name, wanting to warn him, but it had the opposite effect. What she received in return was his kiss. His never-changing kiss, passionate, deep, and domineering. Wen Ying leaned back, her steps faltering, but Shen Tuo took the opportunity to hold her waist, adjusting his position, turning Wen Ying completely around, holding her tightly, deepening the kiss, giving her no chance to resist. The rain poured down, the sound of their kiss swallowed by the storm. Wen Ying's hands pushed against his chest, gradually changing from resistance to surrender. Shen Tuo directly felt her change. He released her, kissing her gently twice before pulling away. Their rapid breaths mingled, their hazy gazes met, and the surroundings were completely silent. Shen Tuo's eyes were wet and red, his lips too. The beads of water on his forehead were indistinguishable as sweat or water from his hair. He still stared at Wen Ying with that same look. "You still like me, right?" he asked. Wen Ying's brain was oxygen-deprived from the kiss, and it took her a while to pick up their previous conversation. Her voice was slightly broken. "You really are a jerk." "Yes, I'm a jerk," Shen Tuo admitted, his atoms apple-bobbing, without any hesitation. "How can you do whatever you want?" "I'm sorry. I don't like you at all." Wen Ying. Shen Tuo couldn't discern the true meaning behind her words, but he knew, whether it was his impulsiveness tonight or his breakdown over her blind dates, he at least had to get some sweetness. Her scolding him was better than her constant silence. He asked her, "If you don't have any feelings for me at all, why didn't you buy me like you did back then? If you really hate me, why did you let me in today? You knew I had ulterior motives. You knew I was insanely jealous of them." Those carefully concealed feelings were ruthlessly exposed, and when Ying's face flushed red bit by bit, she cried out his name, her voice thick with tears, "Shen Tuo." Shen Tuo's tone suddenly softened, coaxing and enticing. "Forgive me once. Try liking me again, okay? I've been waiting in line for a long time, too. At least give me a chance." Wen Ying's grip on his clothes tightened. Her eyelids fluttered as she looked at Shen Tuo, so close at hand. She furrowed her brows in conflict, tears glistening in her eyes, seemingly aggrieved and annoyed, but before Shen Tuo could interpret it, she gritted her teeth slightly and resolutely stood on tiptoe, suddenly wrapping her arms around Shen Tuo's neck. As if she had made up her mind, Wen Ying sniffed, her voice muffled, "Giving you one last chance, only this one." Shen Tuo froze for a moment. After reacting, he tightly hugged Wen Ying back, speechless for once. After a long time, he said, as if speaking to Wen Ying and also to himself, "Okay, just this once. This time, I will definitely be a qualified boyfriend." Wen Ying mumbled, "We're not officially dating yet. This is just a trial period, so you're not my boyfriend yet." "Okay, before my birthday. If you're not up to par, I'll reject you. You can't pester me anymore. Okay, don't suddenly disappear, don't suddenly reappear. Don't make me guess what you're thinking." "Okay," Shen Tuo asked. "Anything else?" Wen Ying's voice was light and airy. "Yes, there's a lot more." Shen Tuo nuzzled her hair, seeking her lips once again. Before kissing her, he whispered, "Then we'll add them slowly later on. Your wish is my command." Wen Ying didn't refuse, closing her eyes with a racing heart, just like when she was a young girl. Chu Shi, sitting on the sink, tilted his head and watched them. Meow. The end. Chapter 13. Over an hour later, Shen Tuo's phone, resting on the dining table, rang. Wen Ying nudged him gently. Shen Tuo, engrossed in their kiss, opened his eyes in confusion. "Your phone." Wen Ying averted her gaze, her voice soft. Shen Tuo's ears were ringing slightly. He stared at Wen Ying's red lips for a while before his thoughts caught up. He adjusted the neckline of Wen Ying's slipping nightgown. "It should be the locksmith. I'll go take care of it. You eat first." "Okay." Their breaths mingled as they spoke, creating a world just for them. But the persistent ringing of the phone pulled back the curtain of reality. Wen Ying felt her body and mind split in two. Half of her was immersed in the intimate atmosphere with Shen Tuo, while the other half was embarrassed by the interruption. She lowered her head, looking left and right, and noticed Shen Tuo was still staring at her. She reminded him again, "Go answer it." "All right." His voice was husky and low, trailing with a lingering warmth from their kiss. As if afraid this was all a dream, afraid she might change her mind once he left, Shen Tuo caressed Wen Ying's face. "You'll let me back in later, right?" Wen Ying chuckled and nodded. Shen Tuo cupped her face and gave her a deep kiss, the tip of his tongue lingering as he pulled away. Once he left, without his support, Wen Ying's legs felt weak. She braced herself against the sink, taking deep breaths of fresh air. After a moment of reflection, she felt a tinge of regret for her impulsiveness, but then a sense of recklessness followed, and finally, a joyful feeling of having her heart unburdened and daring to try something new. She smiled unconsciously, her eyes glancing over to Chushi, who was sitting obediently nearby. Scooping up the cat, Wen Ying kissed its little head. "How about him being your dad?" "No, wait, your dad-to-be." Chushi didn't like being held and struggled to get free. Wen Ying didn't force it, letting the kitten go, her gaze following as it ran towards the door. Shen Tuo hadn't closed the door completely, leaving a crack. She could faintly hear him talking to the locksmith. Afraid Chushi might run outside, Wen Ying followed. Shen Tuo, who was discussing the requirements for a new combination lock with a locksmith, saw two heads peeking through the crack in the door. Wen Ying with flushed cheeks and a curious kitten. Wen Ying asked, "Is it difficult to open?" Shen Tuo replied, "No, this old lock is easy." Wen Ying, "How long will it take?" Shen Tuo, "About 15 minutes." The locksmith, cigarette dangling from his lips, eyed the couple and chuckled. "I really don't understand you young people these days. Is living across from each other the new trend in dating?" Wen Ying and Shen Tuo exchanged glances, feeling a bit awkward. She pulled Chushi closer. "I'll go reheat the dumplings." Shen Tuo, "Okay." Closing the door, Wen Ying still felt a sense of unreality. 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Wen Ying looked through the peephole before opening it. Shen Tuo, now dressed in his own clothes, handed her the plaid pajamas and a key. Wen Ying, "Huh?" Shen Tuo stepped inside. "The locksmith said he only opens locks. I'm giving you a key in case this happens again. I have to go to Jiangxing tomorrow. I'll change the lock myself when I get back." They sat down at opposite ends of the dining table. The steaming handmade dumplings were large and plump, coated with a thin layer of sesame oil, their aroma filling the air. Wen Ying caught the key point in his words. "You just got back. Why are you leaving again?" "The company has been busy lately. I'll probably be traveling a lot in August too. I'll come back when I have time." Wen Ying broke a dumpling in half. She murmured, "You don't have to come back specifically." Shen Tuo took a few bites, a faint smile playing on his lips. "How can I become your official boyfriend if I don't come back?" Cough, cough. Wen Ying choked and fell silent. After dinner, Shen Tuo took the initiative to wash the dishes, while Wen Ying nestled on the sofa, looking for a TV show to watch. The rain was still falling, accompanied by a few frightening flashes of lightning. Chushi, scared, hid under the sofa. Wen Ying quickly put down her phone and crawled on the floor to look for Chushi. Seeing it curled up in a tiny ball, she felt a pang of sympathy. She reached out to comfort it, but it hid too deep, and she couldn't reach it. When Shen Tuo came out of the kitchen, he saw Wen Ying lying there, the hem of her dress only reaching her thighs, shifting with her movements. He paused, walked over, scooped her up from behind, and tumbled onto the sofa with her in his arms. Wen Ying was startled, and by the time she reacted, he was already kissing her. Unlike before, his kiss was slow and meticulous. He kept his eyes open, looking at her with each kiss, his dark eyes heavy and captivating, making her surrender willingly. Wen Ying let him kiss her for a while, but soon she sensed something was amiss. Her eyelids fluttered, and with a suspicion in her mind, she pressed down with her leg. Shen Tuo groaned in response. He restrained himself, his brows furrowing slightly, his teeth bumping against her lip. Wen Ying's expression became complex. Shen Tuo kissed her cheek, his voice low. "It's a natural reaction. I can't control it. But don't be scared. I just want to kiss you." Wen Ying wasn't scared. She simply felt that if they really did that, it would be too fast. They had agreed on a trial period. Although her heart was already leaning towards him. She pushed him away, sat up from his embrace, straightened her clothes, and said, "We're not officially dating yet. From now on, you can't just kiss me." Shen Tuo swallowed, admitting she had a point. "Okay, I won't do that again without your consent." "Wen Ying, you can't just hug me either." "Okay." Wen Ying looked back at him suspiciously. "You promise?" Shen Tuo, "I promise." As the 4 words landed, his eyes regained their clarity, filled with unwavering determination. Furious at Wen Ying for breaking her promise, Wen Ying's mother stormed over to her apartment. It was late September, and the autumn wind had begun to pick up. Wen Mu, carrying a freshly slaughtered chicken in her left hand and homemade meat buns in her right, marched towards Wen Ying's place with a murderous aura. She muttered, "If she doesn't go on 10 blind dates during National Day, I'll break her leg." The doorbell rang aggressively, while Wen Ying and Shen Tuo were changing Chushi's bandages after its neutering surgery. Hearing the doorbell, they both froze. Wen Ying asked, "Did you order takeout?" Shen Tuo said, "No. Is it your delivery?" "Maybe I bought some cosmetics a few days ago." Shen Tuo put down the cotton swab and went to open the door. Their eyes met as the door swung open. Shen Tuo quickly deduced the woman's identity, but he had always been awkward around elders. For the first time, he felt a sense of nervousness. Wenmu was petrified for half a minute. Her mind raced, finally understanding why her daughter hadn't been willing to go on any blind dates these past 2 months. But why hide it if she had a boyfriend? Just tell her directly. Moreover, this young man was handsome and clean-cut, quite presentable in terms of appearance. But were they already living together? Wenmu raised an eyebrow, her gaze falling on Shen Tuo's loungewear. She was still displeased. Dating was fine, but things shouldn't move too fast. Wenmu cleared her throat. I'm looking for Wen Ying. Shen Tuo took the items from Wenmu's hands and fetched a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet, placing them in front of her. Wen Ying, still checking Chushi's wound, heard a voice that sounded like her mother's and turned towards the door with a jolt. Beep! Her heart rate flatlined. Mom! Wen Ying scrambled to her feet. Mom, why are you here? Wenmu stepped into the slippers, her eyes sharp as she looked at her daughter. If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have known what you've been up to lately. Wen Ying's scalp tingled. Shen Tuo observed the situation. I'll put these things in the kitchen. Wenmu put down her bag and pushed Wen Ying into the bedroom, closing the door behind them. When did you start dating? Wen Ying, we're not dating. Wenmu, who are you kidding? If you weren't dating, why would he be here in his pajamas? Discussing a business collaboration? Wen Ying leaned in, acting coquettishly. We're still getting to know each other. I was planning to tell you after things were settled. So what's his background? Is he a good person? He's a good person. A very good person. Wenmu understood, mimicking her daughter's tone. A very good person. You shouldn't keep things from your mother, you know? I know. Shen Tuo remained in the kitchen until Wenmu called out, Hey, Xiao Shun. Hearing his name, Shen Tuo took a deep breath and walked out. He addressed her Andy. Wenmu smiled. I just came to drop off some things. The buns and chicken are fresh, so eat them soon. They won't keep. Ying always eats so little. Make sure she eats more. I'll be going now. Have fun. Shen Tuo, feeling slightly awkward, tried his best to be polite. Okay, I'll make sure she eats more. After seeing her mother off, Wen Ying stood by the entrance, her lips twitching. Finally, she couldn't contain it and burst out laughing. Shen Tuo asked, What's so funny? Wen Ying looked at him. I've never seen you like this before. I didn't know you had such an obedient side. It's not like you. Shen Tuo turned his back, squatted down, and beckoned Chushi. Did your mom say anything? Wen Ying noticed his ears had turned slightly red. She walked over to him and squatted down as well, petting the poor Chushi, who was wearing a cone. She didn't say much, just I should have told her. Shen Tuo. So, what's her impression of me? Wen Ying. Pretty good. Buzz. Her phone vibrated with a WeChat notification. Wen Ying walked over to the coffee table, picked up her phone, and added, My mom just texted me. She said you seem a bit honest. Shen Tuo. He had promised, and he kept his word. Before Christmas arrived, Shen Tuo, as agreed, didn't cross any physical boundaries. Due to his work, he was constantly traveling between Beijing and Haicheng. When he returned, he wouldn't do anything particularly special. He'd go to Wen Ying's place, have a bowl of noodles, play with the cat, and they'd watch old movies together using a projector he had installed. November was his most leisurely month. He learned to cook, taking care of Wen Ying's 3 meals a day, driving her to and from work. Wen Ying liked listening to soothing music in the car, taking pictures of beautiful clouds and neon lights at night, and buying all sorts of cartoon pajamas and animal-shaped winter slippers. Every month, she'd reward herself with half a chocolate lava cake. On weekends, if she had time, she liked visiting the flower market. She preferred orange shades for her manicures. She'd collapse on the sofa, laughing uproariously at funny videos, and secretly wipe away tears when watching something sentimental. Many times, he wanted to touch her, but he always held back. On the eve of her birthday, Shen Tuo rushed back from abroad and made plans with Wen Ying for her birthday. Wen Ying only remembered their agreement when he reminded her. Lying on her bed, she spoke to Shen Tuo on the phone. Okay, so, what are we going to do that day? Shen Tuo was still on his way, gazing at the blurry night scene outside the car window. His voice was unusually gentle. "Dinner. I booked a restaurant and also ordered that popular chocolate cake." "Okay." That day, Wen Ying left work a little early, went home to shower, and put on makeup. She specifically told him not to pick her up from work or wait for her at her doorstep. Shen Tuo had no choice but to park his car at the entrance of her residential complex. Around 7 o'clock, as the last song on Wen Ying's playlist finished, he saw her through the tinted car window, dressed all in black, trotting towards him in high heels. He stared at her for a few seconds, lost in thought. He remembered that during their university days, Wen Ying always wore makeup when she saw him, but it was different from the sophisticated look she had now. Back then, she was young, and no matter how much makeup she wore, there was an overflowing youthful innocence. Now, she seemed more mature and alluring. Wen Ying expertly opened the car door and got into the passenger seat. Shen Tuo caught a whiff of her perfume, a sweet but not overpowering scent of lychee and strawberry. Wen Ying panted, her voice sweet. "Okay, let's go." Shen Tuo leaned over to help her with the seatbelt. As he got closer, he noticed the glittering sequins on her eyelids. When she blinked, her eyes sparkled like stars in water. He smiled almost imperceptibly, gazing into her eyes. "Dressed up so beautifully today?" "Wen Ying, of course, today is important." Shen Tuo hummed in agreement, his eyes dark and deep, staring intently at her lips. They were close enough to kiss. Wen Ying had nowhere to hide. Just as she was about to close her eyes, Shen Tuo fastened her seatbelt and whispered in her ear, "I'll kiss you later." Wen Ying felt like she had been tricked. She pouted. "Who wants to kiss you?" Shen Tuo smiled without replying, put on her favorite music, and started the car. It was Christmas Eve, and the entire city was celebrating. The traffic was heavy, and it took nearly an hour to reach the restaurant. It was a Chinese-style restaurant, open only to members. It was Wen Ying's first time in such a place, and she felt a little out of place. Shen Tuo carried her bag in one hand and extended the other towards her. Wen Ying quickly placed her hand in his. From the entrance to their private room, there was no one else around, and the entire pathway was lined with champagne-colored roses. Wen Ying asked Shen Tuo softly, "Are we the only ones here?" Shen Tuo replied, "Yes, I booked the entire place for the day." "What? I didn't want to be disturbed. I only wanted us to be together." Their private room was at the very end of the corridor. Outside the large floor-to-ceiling windows was a Suzhou-style garden landscape. A few koi fish swam in the crystal-clear pond, while a woman in a cheongsam played a guzheng nearby, the melodious music filling the air with elegance. Wen Ying stood by the window, admiring the view. Shen Tuo, after confirming the order with the manager, walked up behind her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. "Can I take your coat?" "Sure." He removed her black wool coat, revealing a black dress with a pearl necklace. Shen Tuo could barely take his eyes off her. Wen Ying pretended she didn't notice, saying cheerfully, "We were stuck in traffic for so long. I'm starving. Let's order." Shen Tuo guided her to her seat. Dish after dish arrived, each one exquisitely presented but small in portion. They were gone in 2 bites, but by the end, Wen Ying was quite full. After the dessert soup, the manager, with a professional smile, dimmed the lights and wheeled in the birthday cake, then discreetly left the room as instructed. The candlelight flickered on Wen Ying, the pearls on her dress shimmering, her eyes shining brightly. With no one else around, Wen Ying clasped her hands together and made her birthday wish. After blowing out the candles, she looked expectantly at Shen Tuo, rehearsing in her mind her willingness to officially become his girlfriend. But Shen Tuo said, "Let's cut the cake. Try it, you'll definitely like it. I heard their pastry chef just returned from training in Italy." Wen Ying took a few bites. The chocolate cake melted in her mouth, its sweetness followed by a subtle bitterness, preventing it from being too cloying. The mint-flavored mousse filling left a refreshing coolness in her throat. But Wen Ying hesitated, then bit her lip and said, "I'm finished." Shen Tuo, "Should I ask them to pack it up?" On their way back, Wen Ying turned off the music and leaned against the car window, looking glum. Shen Tuo tapped his fingers on the steering wheel. Didn't you like the food? I did. Is it because I didn't kiss you? Wen Ying realized for the first time that Shen Tuo also had a dry sense of humor. She glared at him, quickly adjusting her mood. She had planned to keep her promise, but if he didn't want it, so be it. But after 10 minutes, she noticed the route was unfamiliar. She glanced at the navigation and realized the destination wasn't their residential complex, but a strange one. Where are we going? She asked. Shen Tuo. Not angry anymore. I wasn't angry. Don't be mad. You know I really want to kiss you. It wasn't because of that. Shen Tuo's eyes twinkled with amusement. We'll be there soon. I'll kiss you when we arrive. Wen Ying didn't reply, just turned the music back on. As they entered the underground parking of the unfamiliar complex, Wen Ying noticed the luxurious surroundings and her heart started racing. She asked Shen Tuo, "Is this your apartment in Beicheng? Your parents aren't coming over, are they?" "I can't, not now." Shen Tuo parked the car and unbuckled her seatbelt, smiling directly at her. Wen Ying asked him what he was smiling about. He replied with her own words, "I've never seen you like this before." So adorably flustered. Wen Ying pushed him playfully. Shen Tuo held her hand, explaining gently, "This isn't my apartment in Beicheng. It has nothing to do with my parents. It's ours. Our home." He paused, choosing his words carefully, finally settling on the word home. But even he seemed to find it hard to believe he had said those words. His earlier smile faded inch by inch into the darkness, replaced by a hint of bewilderment and self-mockery. Wen Ying had a fleeting vision of the cynical Shen Tuo from their past. Her heart was filled with mixed emotions. She was about to offer some comforting words, but before she could speak, Shen Tuo swallowed, raised an eyebrow, and looked at her again. Their eyes met for what felt like an eternity. He seemed to have composed himself and finally spoke. "I'm fine. Let me show you around," he said. Wen Ying nodded silently. The elevator stopped on the 18th floor, the top floor. He entered the access code, turned on all the lights, revealing a spacious living room with a stunning view of Beicheng's most famous lake. A real lake view penthouse. Wen Ying just stood in the middle of the living room, looking around, her feet rooted to the spot. Shen Tuo embraced her from behind. "I spent a long time choosing this apartment and layout. Do you like it?" Wen Ying couldn't answer. This was different from the dinner earlier. Shen Tuo continued. "More than being your boyfriend, I want to be the other person on your marriage certificate. I know it's sudden, and you don't have to say yes. I'm just expressing my sincerity, like before. But promise me, I'm first in line for marriage. And happy birthday." Wen Ying laughed in relief, her shoulders shaking slightly. Shen Tuo hugged her tighter, whispering in her ear, "So, starting today, I'm your official boyfriend, right?" "Yes, official. And also the #1 candidate for future husband. Then I'm going to exercise my rights as your boyfriend." His voice was as cold as ever, but his warm breath on her neck sent shivers down her spine. Wen Ying shrank her neck. Shen Tuo turned her around, placed her hands on his shoulders, and kissed her. He was still the same Shen Tuo, always taking the lead. Wen Ying adjusted to his kiss and then stood on tiptoe, returning his kiss for the first time. Later that night, as Chenyu was about to fall asleep, he received a WeChat message from Shen Tuo. December 25th, 2025, 11:17 p.m. Shen Tuo chopped it. Chenyu rolled his eyes and replied, "Get lost." He scrolled up through their chat history. April 17th, 2025, 10:47 a.m. Chenyu, I'm on a blind date. Shen Tuo, oh. Chenyu, it's your ex-girlfriend. Shen Tuo, is that so? Shen Tuo, address. Shen Tuo, location. Shen Tuo, hurry up. Chenyu, sweet coffee shop, Xianglin Street. April 17th, 2025, 8:16 p.m. Chenyu, so how did it go? What's your situation? Chenyu, did you get rejected? Chenyu, ha. Chenyu, ha. May 1st, 2025, 11:30 a.m. Chenyu, I found a job, starting after May Day. Are you still in Beicheng? Want to play Mahjong? July 14th, 2025, 6:04 p.m. Chenyu, why haven't I heard from you for so long? I'm off work, want to grab a drink. September 25th, 2025, 9:18 p.m. Shen Yu, hurry up and help me slash the price on Pinduoduo. December 25th, 2025, 11:17 p.m. Shen Tuo, chopped it. Shen Yu, get lost. Shen Tuo, haha. Later, on the morning after their wedding night, Wen Ying unexpectedly discovered a mole on Shen Tuo's right buttock, a small, sexy, brown mole. Shen Tuo was used to sleeping on his stomach. He had been sleeping soundly, exhausted from their exertions, but he vaguely felt an intense gaze on his back. He forced himself awake and looked over. He saw Wen Ying, wearing a silk slip dress, half kneeling beside him, staring intently at his. Well, there. It was fine to look anywhere else, but looking there was strange. He instantly became fully awake and pulled her into the covers. What are you looking at? He asked. Wen Ying, did you know you have a mole on your butt? Shen Tuo's voice was hoarse. Did you know you have a small birthmark there? Where? Here. He pressed down, then kissed the spot. Wen Ying instantly fell silent.